भी की है। तो सभी पारिवारिक जन भी और जो लोग हमारे श्रमिक भाई आए हैं सभी स्वस्थ हैं, किसी को अभी कोई परेशानी नहीं है। थोड़ा जेट लॉग जैसी स्थिति उनकी हो गई है क्योंकि वो रात में 4 बजे के बाद सो पाते थे। उन्होंने जैसा बताया कि रात में हमको नींद कम आती थी थोड़ा वहां, लेकिन वो स्वस्थ थे, पूरी तरह से स्वस्थ थे। ये इस बात से आप अंदाजा लगा लिए कि जो रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन, जब एनडीआरएफ और एसडीआरएफ उस पाइप के अंदर से वो टनल में प्रवेश कर गई और उनको लाने में हमने ये अनुमान लगाया था कि 2.5 घंटे का समय कम से कम लगेगा, क्योंकि एक को लाने में 5 मिनट 7 मिनट लगेंगे। तो इस हिसाब से लगभग 2.5 घंटे 3 घंटे का समय लगता। और स्ट्रेचर पे लाना था उनको, ट्रॉली बनाई हुई थी, उसको बांधने में लाने में और टाइम लग जाता। लेकिन वो रेस्क्यू अभियान जिसके बारे में हम सोच रहे थे 2.5-3 घंटे चलेगा, वो आधे घंटे में ही खत्म हो गया।
हाँ,
क्योंकि किसी ने भी जो है उसका उपयोग नहीं करा। वो सब सब इतने स्वस्थ थे कि वो क्रॉलिंग करके बहुत एक साथ, मुझे पहली बार मैं 4 लोगों को मैंने रिसीव किया और मैंने सोचा कि अब 4 लोगों को आने में 15-20 मिनट का समय और लगेगा, 4-4 करके आएंगे। और कुछ ही देर में मैंने देखा 5-7 मिनट में कि 10-11 लोग एक साथ आ गए। उसके बाद फिर 10-11 लोग आ गए और ऐसे करते करते 41 लोग बाहर आ गए। अंत में उनकी जो टीम लीडर थे वो लोग आए। तो माने कि सभी स्वस्थ हैं, आज भी प्रसन्न हैं। और अभी चूंकि जो डॉक्टरों की सलाह है उसके अनुसार उनको एम्स में और सघन जो चिकित्सा हो सकती है, जांच हो सकती है, वो सब करेंगे। उसके बाद जो भी माने डॉक्टर एडवाइज करेंगे।
धामी जी, व्यक्तिगत तौर पर भी आपके लिए ये काफ़ी चुनौतीपूर्ण रहा। हमने देखा कि आप लगातार वहाँ जाते रहे, अपना कैंप ऑफिस आपने वहीं पर सेटअप कर लिया, सरकार भी आप वहीं से चलाते रहे, लगातार जो प्रगति हो रही थी राहत कार्य की उसकी निगरानी करते रहे, और साथ ही प्रधानमंत्री जी से भी आपकी लगातार बातचीत होती रही, आप उनको भी ब्रीफ करते रहे। ये भी हमें जानकारी मिली है कि उत्तराखंड की जो दिवाली होती है इगास, वो पर्व भी आप वहीं मना पाए क्योंकि आपको कहीं जाने का, दूसरी जगह जाने का समय नहीं था। तो ये किस तरह का चुनौतीपूर्ण रहा? और जिस तरह से पीएम मोदी आपके संपर्क में लगातार रहे, पल पल की जानकारी लेते रहे, फोन करते रहे आपको, ये भी एक तरह से आपके लिए काफी मार्गदर्शक साबित हुआ।
कि निश्चित रूप से जो ये रेस्क्यू अभियान चला है, ये मैं कह सकता हूं कि अभी तक जितने भी रेस्क्यू अभियान हुए होंगे उसमें से कठिनतम में से एक यह भी रहा। और इसमें सारी टेक्नोलॉजी, सारे विशेषज्ञ उत्तराखंड के अंदर पहुंचे और हम इस पे सफलता प्राप्त कर पाए। तो उसमें प्रधानमंत्री जी का बहुत बड़ा हमको मार्गदर्शन था, उनका बहुत बड़ा हर तरीके से सहयोग था, उनका निर्देशन भी था और वो उनका नेतृत्व भी था। उसके कारण से ही, और उन्होंने, मैं सच बताऊं आपको तो एक दिन भी ऐसा नहीं था, इस दौरान 5 राज्यों के चुनाव भी चल रहे थे और उनको अनेक राज्यों के चुनाव में भी भाग लेना था, लेकिन कोई दिन ऐसा नहीं था जिस दिन वो बिल्कुल बारीकी से एक एक कितना अभियान में प्रगति हो गई है, कौन सी टेक्नोलॉजी वहां पर काम कर रही है, कौन सा कटर आया है, उनके परिवार के लोग आए हैं, उनकी क्या स्थिति है, अंदर उनको भोजन क्या क्या दे रहे हैं, कैसे दे रहे हैं, और सभी स्वस्थ हैं कि नहीं हैं, उनसे बात हुई कि नहीं हुई, सारी बातें वो विस्तार से पूछते थे। और साथ ही साथ यह भी उन्होंने कहा था कि इस जो टनल का जहां से ये काम चल रहा था पाइप को अंदर डालने का, कि वहां पर बहुत ज्यादा मूवमेंट लोगों का ना हो, जिसके कारण से काम करने वाले लोगों को कोई जो है किसी प्रकार की जो है दिक्कत ना हो, कोई उनका व्यवधान ना हो। तो ये काम उन्हीं के कारण संभव हो पाया, अन्यथा ये संभव नहीं होता। तो कहते हैं मोदी है तो मुमकिन है, तो यह भी मुमकिन हुआ। इससे पहले की भी आपदाएं लोगों ने देखी हैं कि एक समय ऐसा भी था कि कई बार लोग कुछ नेताजी का इंतजार करते रह गए और 8-8 दिनों तक राहत सामग्री के ट्रक भरे के भरे रह गए कि वो आएंगे, हरी झंडी दिखाएंगे, जब राहत सामग्री उन तक, जरूरतमंदों तक पहुंचेगी, आपदा पीड़ितों तक पहुंचेगी। ऐसा समय भी देखा। और आजाद भारत के इतिहास में ऐसे प्रधानमंत्री को भी देखा है लोगों ने, जिन्होंने अपने परिवार, अपने बच्चों की तरह, अपने बेटे बेटियों की तरह उनकी चिंता करी है, जो सुरंग के अंदर जो है हमारे श्रमिक भाई फंसे हुए थे।
Union Minister V.K. Singh was also, in fact, at the site overlooking the rescue efforts. He spoke to NDTV and he said that we need now to be cognizant of geology of our mountains, and there will be now a survey of all such projects.
Talking about coordinations, international tunneling experts, NDRF, SDRF, Army, multiple agencies coming together for this rescue. Of course, leadership and camaraderie both was on display, be it inside and outside, where the rescuers gave their all. As a former army chief, do you look at this as a textbook case of how to overcome a Himalayan challenge? And what are the lessons learned from Silkyara tunnel excavation and this entire rescue operation, sir?
See, the lesson learnt is very simple. We need to be cognizant of the type of geology that our young mountains have. It's difficult geology. There are places which are hard, there are places which have problems, and that is why you have so many landslides in the Himalayan region. In this tunnel too, this area which caved, this area for almost 4 years was stable. And when we started doing permanent work on it, it just caved in because some transformation had taken place in the soil out there, that it just became plastic. It just came down, and with it came down all the metal that earlier had been put to shore up the roof of the tunnel. Geology is a very important factor, and with the people who had come from the Geological Survey of India, we have had a long discussion, and I think their studies have to be much more meaningful so that our geological survey of the area where we make things, whether we build or we tunnel or whatever we do, it takes into account the typical geology which is there and the solutions which are available for it.
So let's get into the allegations that are coming in, General VK Singh, that environmental impact assessment EIA was bypassed for this entire Char Dham project under which this tunnel comes. So the big question is, will the accountability be fixed?
I see a lot of things will keep flying. So far as we are concerned in the Ministry of Road, Highways and Transport, we are absolutely transparent, and after this tragedy that has happened, or this mishap that has happened, where we have rescued 41 people, we are again ensuring that whatever things we have laid down, they are refined, more lessons that we have learned are added. If there is an audit required to be done at various stages, that is taken care of, so that we do not succumb to any such issue in subsequent years.
With that, we're slipping into a very short break. News and updates on the other side of this short commercial break. Coming back.
Hello, Namaste and Salam UAE. We are here to celebrate exceptional success stories of leading individuals in the realty industry across the United Arab Emirates. The Realty Awards, brought to you by NKN Media in partnership with NDTV, will also provide a vision for the realty landscape in the UAE. Coming soon, only on NDTV.
Would you invest in startups right now?
We are currently investing in startups, and we have been doing so continuously for the last 7, 8, 10 years, maybe 15 years, with some breaks in the middle, but not a break currently, simply because we are seeing good opportunities, we are seeing good companies, good founders, good ideas, there are good new emerging technologies, and we believe over a 7, 8, 10 year perspective, this is actually a good time to get in, because we believe entry price, entry valuation matters a lot. So we invested in Zomato in 2010, right in the middle of the global financial crisis. We invested in Policy Bazaar in 2008, just before Lehman collapse. And those have turned out thus far to be our two best investments. ICICI Venture invested in Info Edge, our first round, in April 2000, just when the dot-com bubble burst. And we built Naukri through the crisis profitably after a couple of years, and ICICI Venture got a 28.5x return in 6 years. So I think some of the best and most profitable investments are made when the market is down.
NDTV for news you can trust. No sensationalism, no ugly debates,
no agenda. We strive to be transparent and unbiased in our reporting so you can get news that you can rely on. Give us a sort of profile without disclosing too much of it. But you know, the kind of startups that excite you today. Because Zomato, Policy Bazaar, Naukri, great innings. But I'm wondering today, what kind of companies, what are the elements of these companies?
So I'll tell you, we don't do it top down. We don't say, hey, this is a good sector, let's go for it. If we'd done that in 2010, we would never have invested in Zomato because there was no restaurant listing sector. We would not have done Policy Bazaar in 2008 because there was no insurance comparison sector. We look at companies that are creating new categories, entrepreneurs, breaking new ground, and therefore we do it bottom up. We meet 1,000 startups a quarter, or at least look at 1,000 startups a quarter, meet maybe about 500, and we invest in 3 or 4 a quarter.
Okay.
Okay. And we start with first principles bottom up. Is there some evidence of natural traction? Is there some
Welcome back. The Union Cabinet approved a proposal to extend the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana to provide free food grain to around 81 crore people for 5 more years until December 2028. At a cabinet briefing, Union Minister Anurag Thakur said the extension will cost the exchequer around 11.8 lakh crore rupees. The extension will be applicable from January 1st, 2024. A decision in this regard was taken in the meeting of the cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Modi on November 28th.
Earlier, the scheme was the National Food Security Act, where the poorest of the poor would continue to get food grains at the cost of 3 rupees, 2 rupees and 1 rupee, depending on what they buy. Now, that has been merged with the Prime Minister's Garib Kalyan Yojana, which will ensure that the amount that was coming, approximately 14,000 crores of rupees, will be foregone and the centre will bear that subsidy. Having said that, it will also be important that it will relate to the next census to ensure those who get a ration card in the One Nation, One Ration Card policy. These are some of the important benefits to ensure that people below the poverty line continue in a 5 trillion economy, get the benefits of free food grains.
At least 5 states have put their health infrastructure on alert mode after the centre's directive to review readiness in view of the surge in respiratory illness among children in China. State governments in Rajasthan, Karnataka, Gujarat, Uttarakhand and Tamil Nadu have asked hospitals and healthcare staff to ensure preparedness to tackle patients complaining of respiratory issues.
Recently, what we have heard in the news is from mid-October, there has been a sudden surge of infections in North China and Beijing, especially in children. Now, in China right now, there is a beginning of winter season, and the common pathogens which are being found in children and adults are the common pathogens of the season. There are nothing new novel virus is there now, and these pathogens are mainly Mycoplasma pneumonia, adenovirus, respiratory syncytial virus and influenza virus. Usually this infection is mild and is treated at home. There is nothing to worry, nothing to panic. Whenever these symptoms occur, the patient should consult the doctor, should isolate.
At least 5 states have put their health infrastructure on alert mode after the centre's directive to review readiness in view of a surge in respiratory illnesses among children in China. Now, state governments in Rajasthan, Karnataka, Gujarat, Uttarakhand and Tamil Nadu have actually asked hospitals as well as healthcare staff to ensure preparedness to tackle patients complaining of respiratory issues. If we talk about Karnataka, the health department has asked citizens to be aware of the seasonal flu. The advisory issued by Rajasthan meanwhile said the situation is not worrisome at present, but the medical staff should be alert and prevent the spread of infectious diseases. In Gujarat, the health minister has said the healthcare infrastructure created during the COVID-19 pandemic was actually being strengthened as a precautionary measure in view of what's happening in China at the moment. The Uttarakhand government directed health officials to step up surveillance for cases of respiratory illnesses. As you know, 3 districts of Uttarakhand, Chamoli, Uttarkashi and Pithoragarh share borders with China. Now, listing the symptoms and risk factors of the seasonal flu, this advisory also mentions the do's and don'ts. These include covering the mouth and nose while coughing or sneezing, frequent washing of hands as you're probably used to after the pandemic, avoiding touching the face and using masks in crowded spots. In fact, the Union Health Ministry has said the situation as we speak is not alarming, but it is closely monitoring it. But as per internal accounts in China, this current outbreak has swamped some hospitals in northern China, including in Beijing, and health authorities have asked the public to take children with less severe symptoms to clinics as well as other facilities. The World Health Organization, meanwhile, has said there was too little information at the moment to properly assess the risk of these reported cases of respiratory illnesses as far as children in China are concerned. But the WHO said Chinese health officials provided the data that it requested, and the data showed an increase in hospital admissions of children due to diseases including bacterial infection, RSV, influenza, the common cold in some cases since about October this year. Chinese officials, meanwhile, have maintained the surge in patients has not overloaded the country's hospitals. This is what the WHO has disclosed. But you have to crucially note that it is rare for the UN Health Agency to publicly ask for more detailed information from countries, as such requests are typically made internally. Now, the WHO has further added that it requested further data from China via an international legal mechanism. But this surge, particularly among kids, has sparked concern 4 years after COVID emerged from China and went on to become a pandemic that changed the world. Epidemiologists so far say this surge is to be expected, given that this is China's first winter since the COVID pandemic began, that the country has been free of any COVID restrictions.
Some business news now. The market valuation of BSE-listed companies has crossed $4 trillion for the first time on the back of positive market sentiment in Indian equities. Sakshi Bajaj has more.
Market valuation of all BSE-listed companies has crossed $4 trillion for the first time ever. The market capitalization of BSE-listed companies touched 333 lakh crore rupees, or $4 trillion on the exchange. India is now the 5th most valued equity market in the world, with US, China, Japan and Hong Kong already part of the $4 trillion market cap club. Experts believe investors are cheering small and mid-cap stocks outperforming and the rally in equities being broad-based in general. A flood of IPOs and foreign institutional investors turning net buyers along with upbeat global cues has boosted the market mood as well. Now, what is interesting to note here is that the pace at which the market cap is hitting a new record is a lot faster now. You can see the last trillion, which is the historic 4 trillion mark we see today, has taken only 2 years from the 3 trillion mark, while 2 trillion to 3 trillion market cap took 4 years, and it took over 10 years for the BSE market cap to double from $1 trillion to $2 trillion. So optimism and participation for the markets rising like never before now.
On that optimistic note, slipping into a very short break. Coming back, stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to this very special show on NDTV. There are 3 things in life that none of us can really live without. That's friends, fun, and films.
For you. We're going to ask a bunch of you some special questions, and every correct answer is going to reveal what our surprise is.
I don't know.
Satya Nadella.
Jeff Bezos. Bill Gates probably.
Nehru Place. Saket.
Saket.
Mumbai.
Technical Guruji.
Tech Guruji. Technical Guruji.
Technical Guruji.
चलिए शुरू करते हैं।
Hello, Namaste and Salam UAE. We are here to celebrate exceptional success stories of leading individuals in the realty industry across the UAE. The Realty Awards, brought to you by NKN Media in partnership with NDTV, will also provide a vision for the realty landscape in the UAE. Coming soon, only on NDTV.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate finds its resolution, where every story finds its conclusion, where opinions collide but facts prevail, where stories unfold with insights and trust. When the noise ends, the last word begins.
Tell you something. I'll give you a little story of something that we did about maybe 15 years ago. At that time, we didn't know we were doing AI. It just looked like a smart algorithm. Now it'll
A clip from Uttar Pradesh's Muzaffarnagar College went viral after a fashion show featuring models which were burqa clad, in fact, was seen widely and shared widely across social media. Now, after this, in fact, fashion show, the district convener of Jamaat-e-Ulema has raised objection to a fashion show being conducted with burqa-clad models. Jamaat-e-Ulema says that they will take legal action. Meanwhile, the students who, in fact, participated in this, they said they wanted to normalize wearing burqas all across.
On the 24th of November, a 3-day fashion festival was organized at the Sri Ram Group College in Muzaffarnagar. Part of which was a fashion show, but with a slight difference. It was one in which students were on the ramp donning burqas. Even Bollywood celebrities were a part of the show, and for the students, it was a platform to boost creativity and break the misgivings around the burqa.
मेरे जो डिज़ाइनर है उन्होंने सोचा कि कुछ अलग करते हैं, कुछ हटके करते हैं, तो उन्होंने इसी चीज़ को दिमाग में रखते हुए इस चीज़ को डिज़ाइन किया और वहाँ पे रिप्रेजेंट किया एक मॉडल्स के माध्यम से. मॉडल्स ने उस ड्रेस को पहना और वहाँ रिप्रेजेंट किया. हमारा सिर्फ और सिर्फ मेन मोटिव था, एक सिंपल मैसेज ये था कि अनेकता में एकता.
But this obviously did not go down well with some. The Jamiat-Ulema-e-Hind raised objections and threatened legal action if this was repeated in the future.
बुर्का कोई फैशन की चीज़ नहीं है. बुर्का जो है पर्दे के लिए इस्तेमाल किया जाता है. बुर्का मुसलमानों की औरतों की आन बान शान है. बुर्का किसी फैशन शो के लिए इस्तेमाल नहीं किया जाता. जो श्री राम कॉलेज वालों ने ये किया है, ये किसी एक मजहब को टारगेट करके किसी की धार्मिक भावनाओं को भड़काना, ये उनको शोभा नहीं देता है. उनको मंजिल आम पे आके माफ़ी मांगनी चाहिए.
But the college has defended the students, saying the spaces for students to express their creativity must be created and respected.
किसी भी धर्म की बच्ची को शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में आगे बढ़ाना है. इस इवेंट का मूल उद्देश्य यही है कि बच्चों को उनकी क्रिएटिविटी को एक प्लेटफॉर्म दिया जाए.
इसमें कोई गलत थोड़ा ही है. हमने अपनी मर्जी से ड्रेस मिलती है, जो हमारा मन करता है हम वही पहनते हैं. और अच्छी बात है, बुरखे को अगर कोई डिजाइन करेगा तो वो आगे तक जाएगा. जो बुरखा नहीं पहनती मुस्लिम लड़कियां वे भी पहनेंगी, तरह तरह के मिलेंगे. कि ये जो विवाद खड़ा कर रहे हैं ये उन्हें नहीं करना चाहिए, क्योंकि बुरखा एक कोई फैशन नहीं है. ये मुस्लिम लड़कियां जो पहनती हैं, न पहनती हैं, वो उनकी मर्जी होती है.
A piece of cloth and several controversies. How long until we stop telling women what they should wear and what they should not? What is fashionable and what is not? A simple word should be enough to answer all of this. CHOICE, that is choice. With camera person Rajesh Gupta, Monu Singh in Muzaffarnagar, Tanish Punjabi for NDTV.
Moving on to some sports news now. Rahul Dravid is back as Team India's coach, ending days of speculation about his future with the team, even though the duration of his stay with the team has not been specified. He is likely to stay on till the end of the T20 World Cup in June next year.
दुनिया इन्हें रोकेगी पर जीतने का मिशन यही पूरा करेंगे।
Rahul Dravid is back as India's head coach 10 days after his first stint with Team India ended with the Cricket World Cup. He said, and I quote, "Together we have witnessed the highs and lows. And throughout this journey, the support and camaraderie within the group have been phenomenal. I'm genuinely proud of the culture we have set in the dressing room. It's a culture that stands resilient, whether in moments of triumph or adversity. The skills and talent that our team possesses are phenomenal, and what we have stressed is following the right process and sticking to our preparations, which has had a direct impact on the overall result." Dravid became the head coach in November 2021 for a 2-year term, while India has risen to the top of the Test, ODI and T20 rankings under him. They are unable to win any ICC trophies, finishing as semi-finalists in the 2020 T20 World Cup and runners-up in the 2023 World Test Championship and the 2023 ODI World Cup. India's run in the ODI World Cup was particularly impressive. They won all 9 league games and the semi-final before losing the final to Australia. BCCI wants Dravid to stay on to ensure continuity of the process. His new stint will begin in South Africa when Team India starts its African safari with T20s on 10th of December. Dravid will have the important task of getting an ICC trophy home, also deciding on the white ball future of 2 of India's superstar cricketers, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. In New Delhi, Rika Roy for NDTV.
Meanwhile, the chief of NASA, Senator Bill Nelson, also an astronaut, is visiting India to forge new ties between ISRO and NASA. He spoke of how the two nations will head into a new orbit, calling Prime Minister Modi a space fan. Here's an exclusive interview with our colleague Pallav Bakla.
India had a very successful mission to the moon, Chandrayaan-3, where India soft landed closer to the South Pole. There's a mission to the sun, and right now we have the chief of NASA visiting India, since India and America have been old partners in space technology. Whenever the world's oldest democracy and the world's largest democracy meet in space, magic happens. I have with me Senator Bill Nelson, who's the administrator for NASA. I don't know whether to call him an astronaut or to call him a politician. Thanks a lot for speaking to us, Senator Nelson. Pleasure to have you in India on your many visits. Let's start with the big question. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Joe Biden decided that there would be an Indian astronaut going to the International Space Station. And there is very little time because they have set the deadline for 2024. How is the work progressing on that?
Well, we are waiting the final approval by the Indian Space Agency, which I expect momentarily. And then the details will be laid out, but NASA will have a hand into the training of the astronaut, and then those details will be announced at a later date. But it would be a year from now, it would be the end of 2024, that the Indian astronaut would go to the space station probably for 2 weeks, and then they would conduct scientific experiments that would be of importance to India.
Now, we have a Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is very deft with space technology. He uses space as a tool for governance. He's visionary. He wants India to have a space station by 2035 and an Indian on the moon by 2040. If Prime Minister Narendra Modi wants to create history and wants to become the first head of state to visit the International Space Station, would NASA be willing to accommodate Prime Minister Modi as an astronaut on the International Space Station and train him? He's very fit.
Well, let me answer your question this way. I flew as a politician, And what I saw as I looked back at Earth was I didn't see religious division. I didn't see political division. I didn't see racial division. I saw we were all in this together as citizens of planet Earth. And I think that would be a valuable experience for any politician, much more so a head of state.
So you would welcome Prime Minister Modi as astronaut Modi to the International Space Station? I know I'm putting... I am running ahead of time, but he is somebody who always wants to create history.
Well, I can say that he is a space aficionado, a fan. I had in the White House with me our Indian-American astronaut, Sunita Williams. And after the meeting, I see the Prime Minister coming straight for me, and he's talking to me, and he's talking about Sonny. I knew her dad. He knew him as a boy.
Certainly, he is somebody who would want to do something very unique, which is what I was looking forward to. Now let's come down to another aspect of the US-India cooperation, which is the new satellite which is likely to go up, which you called NISAR and we call it NISAR, and maybe the right word for it was destiny, which was once there, or it could be Vasudeva Kutumbakam, as one Earth, one family, one future, because it's a life-saving satellite. The single most expensive Earth imaging civilian satellite ever made. What is special about NISAR, which India will launch from Sriharikota using an Indian rocket?
Well, it's important that we do this as partners. And it's important also the science that we will get in understanding what is happening to the Earth precisely. And on board this expensive spacecraft is part science from India, part from NASA. Part of the radar from India, part of the radar from NASA. And as a result, it is going to be one of our great observatories to give us, along with others, a 3D composite, complete, precise understanding of what's happening to the Earth. And that's very important if we're going to protect our Earth and its climate.
You are heading to the meeting in Dubai on the climate change conference. So is Prime Minister Modi, and the NISAR satellite is specially equipped for monitoring climate change. Let's also turn our attention to the Artemis Accords. India signed the Artemis Accords, and I'm aware the US was very keen that India sign it. Now, what is the expectation as NASA chief from India on the Artemis program? And I'm differentiating between the accord and the program. I'm talking of the program. Accords we have signed now.
Well, the accords talk about how we're going to use space for peaceful purposes. And 32 nations have signed, and we're very grateful that India has signed. As far as going back to the moon, there are going to be many opportunities for international cooperation. So that's still yet to be determined what nations will do that. But I can tell you a lot of nations want to participate with the U.S.
Now, see, the U.S. has high technology. India has a very frugal technology for space. Do you think America's vision of going back to the moon and Mars can happen without the participation of the Indian Space Research Organization and India?
We go back to the moon this time after a half century. We've already been on the moon. We're going back to learn to live, to work in that hostile environment, to invent, to create, in order for us to go to Mars. But we go back differently this time. We go back with commercial partners, and we go back with international partners. And when we go all the way to Mars, it'll be the same thing.
Now, what will be India's role, if there is, in this quest for having permanent occupancy on Moon and Mars?
Well, that's to be determined. We'll see what India wants to do.
Now, on planetary exploration, see, whenever in Chandrayaan-1, when India and America cooperated by carrying the American instruments, India was the captain of Chandrayaan-1 and NASA was a player in that. But when the two worked together, it created lunar history by finding the presence of water on the moon. Going forward, after Chandrayaan-3 and Aditya, which is the mission to the moon, what can we expect between India and America in planetary exploration?
The horizon is beyond the moon and beyond.
What does that mean?
Well, that means what is the partners, what do they want to do together?
So you're hoping for India to be an active partner?
Absolutely. All nations, we look forward to cooperating as we venture out into the cosmos. I describe it this way. We are going to be star sailors sailing on a cosmic sea to far off, distant cosmic shores.
While we talk about space, we also have you as the chief of NASA, and you're also a politician. If you were to be born again, would you want to be born again as a politician or as an astronaut?
I'd like to be born again as Bill Nelson, who is an adventurer and explorer, whether it be politics, history, economics, and astrophysics. All of the above.
Would you be wanting to born in India?
I'd like to be Bill Nelson from little old Melbourne, Florida.
What a pleasure speaking to you, Senator Bill Nelson.
Thank you.
Have a good trip in India and look forward to India and America cooperating and taking India and America higher in orbit in space. So that was an understanding how India and America would cooperate in space. And it comes soon after the Chandrayaan-3 success and the Aditya mission. And hopefully, India's astronaut to the International Space Station would also bring glory for India and America. India and America, whenever they have cooperated in space, it has always created new science. So cutting edge, new frontiers, that is what the world is looking for from the NISAR satellite and from the future satellite missions. With camera person Azam Siddiqui in New Delhi, Pallav Bagla for NDTV.
NDTV for news you can trust. No sensationalism, no ugly debates, no agenda. We strive to be transparent and unbiased in our reporting so you can get news that you can rely on.
लगभग 50 मीटर का ये मलबा वहाँ पे लैंडस्लाइड हुआ था।
जितना बाहर निकालते हैं मलबा उतना ही गिर जाता है। उस पाइप से ये हमको जानकारी मिली कि 40 के 40 सुरक्षित।
Several families in different parts of the country who have their loved ones stuck in the tunnel. They are watching every moment of these rescue operations.
The survivability of the group of 41 is, I would say, fairly high at this particular time.
9 दिन बाद बड़ा ब्रेक थ्रू मिला है।
सूरज की पहली किरण से पहला ब्रेक थ्रू।
Major breakthroughs have been achieved, be it the first video contact or resumption of horizontal auger drilling.
The NDRF, the SDRF, central agencies and officials from state and the central government are monitoring the situation.
There are 41 workers still trapped inside.
जो सबसे पहले जरूरतमंद है, पहले बीमार देखेंगे, कोई बीमार है तो उसको पहले निकाला जाएगा।
बहुत हम लोग बिल्कुल पास पहुंच गए हैं।
The breaking news is the first of the worker has been taken out of the tunnel.
आप हीरो बन चुके हो, आप ही की वजह से वो लोग आए, बहुत सबने मेहनत करी है।
जैसे हम अंदर पहुंचे, वो लोग देखते के साथ ही हम लोग खुश हो गए और उनसे ज्यादा हम खुश हो गए।
It's a huge monumental effort which has gone into this by the government of India, all its agencies.
Celebratory mood, and in fact I've seen smiles on the faces of the parents after many days.
With the workers safe, the focus is now shifting on what led to that unfortunate collapse.
We need to be cognizant of the type of geology that our young mountains have.
सभी जो टनल का काम चूंकि हमारे यहाँ अन्य एजेंसियां भी कर रही हैं, उन सभी की हम समीक्षा करेंगे कि उनको ठीक से देखा जाए।
The Indian government, the Uttarakhand government, has to take this as a learning curve, has to learn from what has happened in Silkyara in order to ensure we don't see yet another incident like this taking place.
What is it about the governance lapses that we've seen in recent times that have been allowed to escalate in the Indian startup universe? And we're not getting into specifics here, but you have boards and you have hefty investors, and you think there's a lot of wisdom sitting around the table, and yet these things happen. Why?
I think very simply, when investors go in, they diligence the company, they diligence the founder, and they conclude.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24x7.
Mega battle for Telangana. The state goes to polls tomorrow. KCR hopes for a third term. Congress aims to wrest power. As respiratory illness cases among children spike in China, multiple states in India issue alert. In Tamil Nadu, all hospitals now have to report respiratory illness cases. Centre versus Bengal government reignites. Amit Shah holds a rally in Kolkata. Simultaneously, TMC holds a protest outside the Bengal Assembly. Union Home Minister's visit triggers fresh war of words. Setback for the Delhi government as the top court dismisses its plea linked to the Delhi Chief Secretary's tenure, allows Centre to extend the Chief Secretary's tenure by 6 months. And the BCCI extends Rahul Dravid's contract as the head coach of the senior men's Indian cricket team. Team support staff's tenure also extended. Also coming up on the show, a special on the Bengaluru Tech Summit with my colleague Veera Raghav. What we are looking at and we are primarily asking is, can the city retain its top tech spot? So more on that with Veera coming up later in the bulletin. But first, we'll of course take a look at the Telangana polls tomorrow. So it is, of course, the mega battle for the southern states. Telangana votes tomorrow. It's the final state among the 5 states to go to polls, with results scheduled on December 3rd. It's primarily going to be a BRS versus Congress contest in Telangana. While KCR hopes for a third term, Congress hopes to wrest power from the BRS government. BJP also is eyeing and hoping that it manages to make inroads in the key southern state. To discuss this further, I'm joined by my colleague Uma Sudhir. Uma, I just want to ask you, this has been a high-pitched battle, and this is the final state in these 5 state elections that we've witnessed, which is almost being seen as a semi-final leading up to 2024. So how close a contest do you think it will be this time in Telangana?
Tanima, everyone in Telangana will tell you that there is momentum with the Congress, that the wind is blowing in the direction of the Congress. But my point is that it has to be a storm. It, in fact, has to be an andhi for the Congress to be able to make it, because from where they started in 2018, they had 21 seats, and now they have to get 60 plus, which means they have to triple their number. And their vote share as well, if you were to see, they are about 29% in 2018. Of course, that was an alliance, and therefore, even if realistically we say they are at about 32%, the vote share of the BRS was at 47%, which means a clear 15% difference at least. And Is there that much anger among the people to be able to swing it so far towards the Congress? That's something that we need to wait and watch and know, of course. But I must point out that the BJP, with its very high-pitched battle, something that it was looking like it is going to be the main contender or challenger for the BRS about 6 months ago, that graph did go down. But I would think in the last 1 week or 10 days that all the national leaders have been here making their high pitch, I must say, and pushing so hard as the BJP does so well. They have literally turned it into a three-cornered contest in at least, I must say, about 25 to 30 seats in which there could be a three-cornered contest. So that does confuse the picture that much more. Of course, this election is all about whether KCR can get a third term. He has been the tallest leader in Telangana since not just 2014 when the state was born, but ever since the death of Dr. Y.S. Rajshekar Reddy in 2009. That's when the Telangana movement, in fact, picked up, TRS picked up its momentum for the Telangana movement. And from then on, their development, their performance, where they have fallen short, all that are secondary issues compared to whether you want to give KCR a third term or not. So it's a KCR versus KCR battle in many senses. Of course, Revant has been one of those, though he's very junior politically, at least 20 years junior to a KCR. He has been seen as someone who can challenge a KCR, the tallest man in Telangana, that he is able to challenge. Then, of course, the Congress had its guarantees that it's able to. And, of course, the anti-incumbency is going to work not just against a KCR, in whose name, in fact, just like BJP asks its vote in the name of Mr. Modi, similarly, here the BRS asks for its vote in the name of Mr. KCR, saying that he has delivered on his promises. Of course, there's going to be anti-incumbency in the constituencies because more than 90% of the MLA candidates have all been repeated by KCR. He took a very calculated risk and gamble there, and that's what we're going to see playing out.
Right. Uma will, of course, catch all the action tomorrow with you. Thank you so much for joining us with that. Staying with news from the south now, amid the spike in respiratory illness cases among children in China, several Indian states are on alert, including Tamil Nadu. In fact, at least 5 states have put their health infrastructure on alert mode after the centre's directive to review readiness in view of a surge in respiratory illness cases among children in China. State governments in Rajasthan, Karnataka, Gujarat, Uttarakhand and Tamil Nadu have asked hospitals and healthcare staff to ensure preparedness to tackle patients complaining of respiratory issues. In fact, as I mentioned, the Tamil Nadu is one of those states where there has been an alert from the government side. Now, the Tamil Nadu Health Department has activated a public health surveillance. All government and private hospitals now ought to report cases or have to report cases of influenza-like illness or acute and severe respiratory illnesses online. NDTV Sam Daniel spoke to Tamil Nadu's Director of Public Health.
Joining us now, Dr. Selva Vinayagam, the Director of Public Health in Tamil Nadu. Doctor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
In the context of the surge in cases in China, Doctor, what kind of guidelines have you issued to hospitals across Tamil Nadu?
Okay. So already Honorable Minister has given a suitable instructions. In this regard, we have issued a suitable instructions to all the institutions, both hospitals, lab and everything, which includes both the government and the private, where they need to report all the cases of ILI, SARI and area cases, whatever it is, they will be reporting it. In that way, we can able to understand, is there any emergence of any particular cluster, which includes fever and all of those things, which can able to track it. This is a surveillance which are already put in place.
Are you also doing any special tests?
There is no need for a special test because we monitor what is the things going on in our system in the community by tweaking a small samples. The samples will indicate what is the prevalence strain which is going on. As on now, it's all the usual things which used to occur, so nothing to panic as on now.
Is there a trend of a longer recovery period for those with respiratory illness?
Not much significant numbers, but a small portion of people who may be having a comorbids, who are having a long-term illnesses, that's a little prolonged period, but nothing to worry, but it's within the less significant number only.
Lastly, Tamil Nadu's preparedness?
The preparedness, we can expand the capacity at any time. Our team is already capable of doing it. They are trained. The sufficient drugs and consumables are already available. At any shorter notice, we can definitely expand based on the requirement.
Thank you so much, Dr. for your time. That was Dr. Selva Vinayagam, the Director of Public Health in Tamil Nadu, talking to us on the state's preparedness amid the surge in numbers in China and the guidelines the state has given to hospitals across the state. In Chennai with Suresh, Sam Daniel, for NDTV.
Shifting focus, since BJP versus TMC once again in Bengal. On the day that Union Home Minister Amit Shah addressed a rally in Kolkata, TMC held a dharna outside the Bengal Assembly. Amit Shah attacked the Poriborton promise of the Bengal government, saying political violence, appeasement and corruption has not changed under TMC. TMC hit back, claiming the Union Minister was silent on key issues.
मैं पूछना चाहता हूं आपको, परिवर्तन हुआ है क्या? जरा जोर से बोलो, हुआ है क्या? घुसपैठ रुकी है क्या? तुष्टीकरण रुका है क्या? पॉलिटिकल वायलेंस बंद हुआ है क्या? भ्रष्टाचार रुका है क्या? मोदी जी लाखों करोड़ों रुपया बंगाल को भेजते हैं, ये तृणमूल के सिंडिकेट वाले वो रुपया को बंगाल के गरीबों तक पहुंचने नहीं देते। मैं आज आह्वान करने आया हूं, अगर 26 में यहां भाजपा सरकार बनानी है तो इसकी नींव 24 के लोकसभा के चुनाव में डालकर मोदी जी को बंगाल से प्रधानमंत्री बनाना चाहिए।
In the winter months, there are a lot of migratory birds which come to Bengal. So in the same way, there was another migratory species came to Bengal today, will fly out in a few hours. Not a word from Home Minister of India and the number 2 in Modi's cabinet about. 1. Not a word about how there'll be more jobs for youth. 2. Not a word about price rise. And 3. Not a word about Manrega, where Bengal, workers who've finished working in Bengal still.
A debate has many facets, perhaps no one right answer. Left, right and centre. Conversations that get to the core of the debate.
And there's too much talking but very little being said. Too many voices but hardly any being heard. You turn to a show that puts you front and centre. A show that headlines the stories of the people, by the people, for the people.
I think the first thing is one very important question. But I asked Deepinder Goyal first time I met him. So the thing, Zomato was then called Food eBay, right? And I used to visit the site regularly because it was the only restaurant listing site with all the menu cards. Right? And I found that very useful. Hitesh Oberoi, our CEO, also found it useful. And we discussed one day, and he said, why don't you look at it for investment? And I said, yeah, why not? And I reached out to Deepinder. I didn't know him. I did in Google search to find him, and I sent him an email. And he came and met me, and the first question I asked him, yeah, Deepinder, the idea kahan se aaya? Where did you get this idea from? And he said, look, I was working in Bain Consulting. Right? And it was in Gurgaon. It was an office with maybe 50 or 60 people, mostly young, mostly single, mostly male, many living away from their hometowns. What it meant was they wouldn't get food from home for lunch. And consulting hours were long, so you ended up, maybe having 2 meals in the office, lunch and dinner. And office had a cafeteria which would not serve food, but you could get your own food and eat it. So to make life easy for the employees, the admin team had collated menu cards of all restaurants that deliver there.
Yeah.
And so, and Deepinder said, it is a huge pain every day, 1 p.m. I go to the cafeteria, I have to wait in a line to access some file because everybody's come at 1 o'clock. And then I get it for 3.5 minutes, then I got to decide very quickly, I ring up the restaurant, I place my order, and then I come back after 45 minutes when it's delivered, and then I pay and I eat. Huge pain. See, one Sunday I came into office and I scanned all those menu cards and put those pages up on my personal page on the office internet, and 2 days later the IT infra guy came to me and said, why is all the internal traffic going to your page? and that's when the penny dropped, and I realized that aggregation of menu cards has got value.
Yeah.
And that is what gave him the idea for doing what he did. Now, to me, this is a big deal that he has built his fundamental value proposition on what we call a deep customer insight.
Election in 5 states, 679 seats, over 16 crore voters. A crucial semi-final before 2024. NDTV brings you the politics, the promises, the stories and backstories, every twist and turn of 5 high-stake battles. When it comes to elections, India trusts NDTV.
This show isn't just about news from the southern states. It's one that looks at the rest of India and the world from a diverse South India point of view, because NDTV has always taken the southern view seriously.
The Southern View with Veera Raghav, only on NDTV 24.
Welcome back. Now, Karnataka became the first state in India to announce a draft policy for animation, gaming and VFX. Some of the top tech leaders from around the world will be in the city over the next 2 days to attend Asia's largest tech summit. NDTV's Veera Raghav caught up with Karnataka IT Minister Priyank Kharge at the summit.
Joining me now is Priyank Kharge, the Minister for ITBT here in Bengaluru. Sir, in terms of when we talk of the startup ecosystem and the economy per se, what do you see the state government's role per se? Because a lot of it is the central government, it's the state government coordination that needs to exist. How do you see the state government's role in terms of this entire ecosystem in Bangalore?
Well, I think I beg to differ with you on that aspect, that the central government dependency is there. It's of course only for the import duty part of it and other major policy. But Karnataka has always been the leaders in formulating policy. We drafted the first IT policy, we drafted the first biotechnology policy, we have a EV policy in place, we have a battery manufacturing policy in place, we're coming back with the state-specific space tech policy, the AVGC policy. These are all things that we have done much before the central government. And our startup ecosystem is and our research ecosystem and our innovation ecosystem is much more mature than any other ecosystems in India because of the policies that we've got. So a lot of things that Niti Aayog is doing now, or previously the Planning Commission has suggested, has been borrowed from us. So I think we have always been the pioneers in technology, and we intend to maintain our leadership position.
And you followed this very closely, not just in this term, even in your last term in office as well. Where do you see are the critical challenges as far as Bengaluru is concerned? As you point out, it's the leader in the country in terms of this entire ecosystem. But how do you maintain that leadership? What is the key challenges ahead?
No, I agree. Right now we have competition right from Chhattisgarh to China. But I think we understand that extremely well, and we are always a couple of steps ahead. So we are concentrating heavily on skilling in emerging technologies. We are talking to the industry, asking them what kind of skill sets they want, and we are partnering with them extensively to ensure that we have the best human resources future ready, not just for the Indian ecosystem but for the global ecosystem. So if you see, probably in the year you will have the most employable human resource in the world coming from Karnataka.
All right, my last question to you. There is always a competition and question about Hyderabad. Telangana is on the pole factor, and Karnataka has been discussed quite closely. You think Bengaluru can retain its advantage, or other cities are going to catch up?
No, we love competition. It helps us keep strict vigil on the ongoings in the industry. Having said that, I would strongly urge you to read the data between Hyderabad and Bengaluru. I think there's nowhere in comparison. We contribute close to around 42% of IT exports. We have 65% of aerospace and defense manufacturing. In machine tool manufacturing, we have again close to around 51%. Biotechnology exports and services are again close to to 60%. We have 25,000 startups here. They have probably around 8 to 10,000. We have 15,000 registered startups with Government of Karnataka. They have close to around 6,000. We have 47 unicorns. They have 4. We have 57 soon-to-be unicorns. They have none. I'm assuming because the report did not read. In the innovation index, we have always been number 1. In the World Innovation Index by Startup Link, we are number 8. I think they're number 30 or 40 somewhere. So take any parameter that you would wish to see, and we are miles ahead. That doesn't mean that we don't have to watch our back, and we are doing just that.
And Veera Raghav also spoke to some of Bengaluru's most prominent investors.
We're here at the Bengaluru Tech Summit, and the question we're asking this evening is, can Bengaluru and will Bengaluru retain its tech hotspot space as far as India, and what is the road ahead as far as the global ecosystem is concerned? And I have some of the finest names in Bengaluru, starting with Prashant Prakash of Axel. Prashant, what do you think? Do you think Bengaluru can retain the #1 spot, the leadership spot as far as India is concerned, and what's the road ahead as far as the globe is concerned?
See, Bangalore is a global hotspot today, right? So we are a top 5 hotspot globally, and I think in the global south, I don't see anybody coming close.
No one's coming close?
No.
No one at all?
So I think it's multidimensional, right? It's not, I think what makes the ecosystem is not somebody getting more IT companies into their city. It's not about getting more, universities into their city. I think it's about that, and this is a very soft thing that the city is developed, and which is what made Valley the Valley. It is the ecosystem which is very supportive of new startups. That's, I think, like right up there. I don't think that kind of ecosystem which makes a startup thrive and get off the ground in Bangalore, it's just not there anywhere else. The second big thing is the number of funding institutions. Not even close. So we have more than 100 to 130 globally recognizable funds in this city. I think the closest would be Delhi or Mumbai with 20% of this. So I think it's the and finally, it's the best city for talent to come because of the weather, and so I think it's that combination, this trioca of the best talent wanting to be here, dream here, make it big here. The fact that there is a big pay-it-back culture in people who want to help the next generation of startups thrive, and finally, the whole aspect of funding institutions being here. I think this combination for some other city to rebuild, not in Bangalore, anywhere else in the global south, I think is very difficult.
And in terms of perception, Madan, what would be the key challenges to maintain that perception? Much of this is not just numbers, it's also a question of perception in terms of thought leadership and being the opinion leader.
Sure. No, I think just to add to what Prashant said, in a recent conversation that we had with Nandan, he summed it beautifully, what makes Bangalore Bangalore. He said Bangalore is the only city where you can come in as a stranger on a Monday morning and leave with 50 connects and friends on a Friday evening. And that's the giving nature of Bangalore, right? It's a very open culture where people are genuinely rooting for everybody else. I think that's the emotion and the feeling that's very hard to replicate anywhere else in the world. From a perception-wise, the brand Bangalore is super strong. We recently did a roadshow with the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission to the US. We must have met about 700, 800 entrepreneurs. Bangalore's brand is super strong. Everybody says has already had some connection to Bangalore. We were trying to figure out how do we leverage the brand Bangalore to rub off on the beyond Bangalore cities. You take a Mysuru, Hubli, Bangalore. These are all emerging hotspots. And I think that's the power that brand Bangalore wields, that it can act as a hub with the many connected spokes in Karnataka, and it could be anywhere else in the region. I think that's the power that we need to leverage. If you speak from an infrastructure standpoint, there is a ceiling. But if you speak from a little Bangalore in every district, there's massive opportunity.
The more of the idea rather than just the physical space.
Just the physical space of it.
Srikanth, in terms of key areas that are emerging, for this city. How do you see it defining itself? What would be the key sectors within the tech world itself that this city should be focusing on, or where this city would possibly have a global leadership position?
So, I think obviously Gen AI is all pervasive today. That's one area which Bangalore should definitely focus on, already is focusing on. I think the thing is one feeds off the other. If you take a city like Bangalore, you have like a flywheel which has been created over decades. You take talent, you take funding, you take people who startups itself. And common denominator is obviously the great weather and the helping attitude of the people. That's like the common. That is something which has developed over decades and extremely difficult to replace over short period of time. But coming back to your question, I think Gen AI definitely one. IT services is something that we have always been, it's been a bread and butter. Bangalore has been like pretty much the leading city. I think that's definitely something that we should continue to focus on. And I think innovation, generally business innovation has been one of the fortes of Bangalore. Take a Flipkart, take a Myntra, take all these large startups which have really grown and become if not globally, at least India-wise the largest. They've all been because of the innovation. I think these three areas are the ones that startups should focus on.
And Venkat, in terms of global positioning of Bengaluru, you may be the number one in India, but there's still a long way to go there.
Yeah, but still Bangalore is still recognized in the Western world at least, right? I remember Obama saying it's the Buffalo to Bangalore, right, when he was campaigning. So I think that is still happening. And I think in addition to what Shrikant said, I think the weather is a major player, which a lot of people come here and the ecosystem is so advanced.
Okay. And Soumya, in terms of threat, if Bengaluru has a threat from another Indian city, which one would it be? Which would be possibly the close number two?
You're asking this question to a true Bangalorean. So I will say there's no threat to Bangalore. But of course, like everyone mentioned, the helping nature of the ecosystem. We are kind of building a blueprint for everyone else to sort of build on that or learn from the mistakes that we did. What works, what doesn't work. There could be different cities that are very good for certain sectors. There could be certain technology or government support that each cities have, which could be different from Bangalore, but there's a lot that has been built over decades in Bangalore. So you can come close to Bangalore, but not really.
You can come close to Bangalore, but you're not going to beat it. Prashant has had to leave for a bit, but Madan, you're still there. In terms of policy challenges, what would be the key challenges ahead? You saw the draft policy on animation gaming being unveiled this morning. Yeah. But in terms of policy challenges, as far as the city is concerned, as far as the business ecosystem is concerned, what would be the key ones?
So I think Karnataka has always been at the forefront of unveiling various policies. We've had the first startup policy, of course the tech policy, now AVCC policy. I think the challenge will be to bring the ecosystem together to make sure that the policies are rolled out and implemented in spirit, not just on paper, right? And I think the policies are very powerful. It all requires implementation, and it's not one entity's role to implement. And I think that's where the ecosystem has to come together and bring in their elements to the mix as well. Right? And I think that's the panchamrut we need to create by bringing various elements together. That gap we need to accelerate and bridge.
Okay, that's a gap that needs to be accelerated and bridged. This is the sentiment from here, the Bengaluru Tech Summit. We'll keep this conversation going, more about the city, its tech population and its business prospects. But that's all we have time for the moment.
I want to talk a little bit about higher education in India, because Ashoka University, certainly most or all will agree that it's been a success. So if you look at the ingredients of that success, what worked? It was a new bet in a sense.
So I think we started with a few sort of guiding principles, the group of us who came together. And we said first thing is we will do liberal arts and sciences and not typically engineering or management first, because those are solved problems. We want to do a model and attack a problem which needs solving. And we felt liberal arts and sciences had not been addressed by private higher education institutions adequately. So one was, that's a focus area, because there's a gap there, a need gap. Second, we said we will not follow the UK system, which is prevalent in India, which is you choose a subject and you study it. That's it. However, the US system, where in your first 2 years you do breadth and width, which is you study many subjects, and then you declare a major at the end of second year. You know, in India, our subjects and major are decided by our class 12 marks.
Indeed.
And not by what we want to do.
Exactly.
Right? And we said we want to change that. So that's the second thing that is changing. Right? The third is we said we'll do collective philanthropy. It will not be one person's or one family's or one business house's university. Because if you have so no matter how much a person donates, he or she or that business house will only have one seat on the board. So I could donate 25 times what the smallest donor has given, but we'll both have the same single seat on the board. Because we felt that that is what will ensure the independence of the university and the academicians and the program, and it will not be sort of subject to the decisions of just one person. And that is what ensures the university's independence, and that is what ensures academic freedom and independence at Ashoka.
Hello, Namaste and Salam UAE. We are here to celebrate exceptional success stories of leading individuals in the realty industry across the United Arab Emirates. The Realty Awards, brought to you by MKN Media in partnership with NDTV, will also provide a vision for the realty landscape in the UAE. Coming soon, only on NDTV.
Would you invest in startups right now?
We are currently investing in startups, and we have been doing so continuously for the last 7, 8, 10 years, maybe 15 years, with some breaks in the middle, but not a break currently, simply because we are seeing good opportunities, we are seeing good companies, good founders, good ideas, there are good new emerging technologies, and we believe over a 7, 8, 10 year perspective, this is actually a good time to get in, because we believe entry price, entry valuation matters a lot. So we invested in Zomato in 2010, right in the middle of the global financial crisis. We invested in Policy Bazaar in 2008, just before Lehman collapsed. And those have turned out thus far to be our two best investments. ICICI Venture invested in Info Edge, our first round, in April 2000.
Hello and welcome to Battle for the States, our special focus this evening on Telangana and the key factors that could determine the outcome in that state, as it's all set to vote tomorrow. A conversation that was interrupted yesterday, but we're bringing that back on now. We've broken down 5 X factors that could decide which way this battle goes. We will discuss this with our special panel of guests. Joining me this evening, Ravikant Reddy, political editor of The Hindu. Balu Pulipaka, political editor of the Deccan Chronicle, will join us in a bit. My colleague Uma Sudhir joins us as well from Hyderabad. And the cephalogist in the midst of all us journalists on this panel, Sandeep Shastri as well. Let's go first to the big factor, the first big factor in the state's politics, and that is the persona of K. Chandrasekhar Rao, the chief minister, and as the BRS portrays it, the undisputed father of the state. That image is up for a strong challenge in these polls. Remember, since the formation of that state in 2014, the Congress had claimed it was Sonia Gandhi who was instrumental in carving out Telangana, but on the ground, since then the Congress party hasn't been able to fight the BRS on that claim. This election is perhaps the biggest test of that KCR image as the undisputed, undefeatable leader in his turf. How strong is it, and is that an X factor in these polls? My first question to the cephalogist on the panel this evening, Sandeep Shastri. 10 years after formation of the state, does emotion and the tumultuous history still matter, or will it boil down to work on the ground versus anti-incumbency and family rule allegations?
Veera, you have posed the most interesting and intricate challenge of Telangana. Is there anti-incumbency? Definitely so. Can the leadership of Chandrasekhar Rao offset that? Not necessarily. But then linked to that is, has the Congress done enough in terms of being able to challenge the BRS? I'm not sure whether enough has happened to get them to make up the deficit they have lost. So this is a very, very tough race. And the last few days of the campaign could make a difference. But undoubtedly, there is visible anti-incumbency, and the ruling party is banking on the charisma of its leader, whereas the Congress is seeking this comeback in this part of the state, this part of what was formerly Andhra Pradesh, and is hoping to reach the halfway point. But I think they have gained a momentum, but is it enough to cross the halfway mark and set back the BRS? I'm not too sure.
Right, you're not sure yet. Ravikant Reddy, I don't think anyone's sure there yet, Sandeep Shastri. Ravikant Reddy, and then to Uma Sudhir. Quickly, is the emotion still a relevant factor, or is it going to boil down to work on the ground and more objective issues?
Well, Telangana emotion is always there and will always be there. But the intensity of the emotion from 2014 to 2018 to 2023, it is diminishing definitely. The election may not be fought on just emotion, but I think it's on the persona of Mr. K. Chandrasekhar Rao, who is a very tall figure in Telangana, undisputedly. None can match him, on the in the personality or in the administrative capabilities, his experience. His opponent, Mr. Revant Reddy, is almost junior politically by almost 15 to 20 years. So that's a big, huge impact that will determine the election outcome. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be KCR versus KCR and KCR versus the people. Whether people want to vote for Mr. KCR, vote out for Mr. KCR more than voting for Congress or BJP. No doubt, definitely, Congress has made a huge impact. They've challenged the leadership of Mr. KCR and his chief minister position. And 2 terms of anti-incumbency, which the Congress has taken a little bit advantage. But this election is all about Mr. KCR. That's what I believe.
Elections all about his persona is what you feel. But Uma Sudhir, just touching upon the second factor as well that we are going to bring in and then integrate these two. As Ravi was pointing out, 10 years of anti-incumbency. Now, 10 years of one rule, and especially one family in power, can be quite powerful. Is this then that the counter force to the KCR image, or does the KCR image tower over that? Does this really matter as a dent to that KCR image?
So the world has moved on since 2014 and 2018, and so has the TRS. Remember that it has moved from Telangana Rashtra Samiti to the Bharat Rashtra Samiti, and KCR has said he is also moving on, in a sense, saying that he is moving on to the national stage. So yes, while when 2014 and 2018, it was still a very young state, the youngest state in the country, and what would happen to it was a question mark at that time. And yes, the BRS government, from most people in the state, would get good marks on that front, saying that they have moved forward in a very positive way, and they do acknowledge, the people of Telangana do acknowledge the role of the KCR's party and KCR as a leader in the development of Telangana, and for it to have the kind of stature that it does in the country. At this time, now the point will be whether we need only the same family to run on, continuing the legacy of what Telangana and the TRS has meant, or do we need to try a new figure now and a new experiment there? Because people also understand that they would like a proper democracy to function, which means that you need another party in power as well to act as a check and balance as well. And that's one reason I think the mood among the people now is to say that let's give the Congress a chance as well. So while we are talking about the momentum that the Congress has gathered, the wave that it has gathered, what we do understand is that you need more than a wave. You need a storm, you need a literal Andhi for this to happen, because they need to go from 21 seats, triple their number to go over 60. That means also their vote share, which was at about 29%
and in terms of vote shares as well.
They were in alliance, but Yes, from 29%, they need to go up because the BRS was, TRS at that time was at 47%. Realistically speaking, about 15% was the difference. So that also they need to come along with bringing in the vote share. And of course, the BJP, with its high-pitched campaign, I must say in the last 7 days or 10 days, their graph has certainly gone up and they're going to make it a multi-cornered contest in at least 25 to 30 seats. So that kind of confuses the picture.
Right, that's three-cornered battle, as you're pointing out. That will be another factor which we'll come to. But first, sticking with anti-incumbency, Uma, I'm going across to Balu. Balu, when we talk of anti-incumbency, one of the sense that most observers get is that there is an urban versus rural divide. You have about 80 seats which are classified rural in your state, in Telangana, and then about 30 seats which are classified as strong urban seats, a little more than that. Do you see that divide being a crucial factor in these elections?
Yes, the anti-incumbency is mostly being seen in rural areas. That is where most of the problems are for the BRS. The real challenge for the BRS is not just about the Chief Minister, it's more about the MLAs, what they've been doing. The intelligence reports, some of those reports one gets to see or read about, also point to the same thing. There is intense anger against the BRS MLAs. Not just because what they have not done for the people, but also because what they believe, what people believe is the attitude that they have now owned the government. The problem is, see, MLAs don't own the government. No party owns the government. They're only custodians of the government. And I think BRS has lost its way. Many of its MLAs have lost their way on that count. So yes, there is the anti-incumbency, and the anti-incumbency is mostly in rural constituencies.
Right, I'm going to get Ravi quickly before I move to the third X factor. Ravi, that point that Balu was making, that look, it's not just about KCR, right? There is local level anti-incumbencies, especially when you have the kind of numbers that you had. 88 first in 2018 and then so many defections over, you had 100 plus. There tends to be a sense of arrogance amongst local level MLAs. Now that's also a problem that the BRS may have to contend with, if I may call it, a problem of plenty that's carried over from 2018.
Well, I think that is the main problem which BRS faces. There's not much anti-incumbency factor against Mr. KCR as a person, as a chief minister, but anti-incumbency against the candidates. You should look at the majority of candidates who are MLAs from the BRS are either first generation MLAs or who have just come into politics. So they they were nowhere in 2014, and within 10 years, the kind of arrogance they have gained and arrogance they are showing within their constituencies, the kind of wealth which people perceive they have amassed is something which is not being digested. And mostly I think it is the arrogance level because they have started behaving as if it is their fiefdom, their local constituency. And one of the major factors I think was Mr. KCR giving a leeway to the appointment of police officers. He left it to the choice of the local MLAs, and the entire police system was in the control of BRS. I think that really angered people in the rural areas because the MLAs were not in control of the party. There was no, though Mr. KCR is a tall figure, his son Mr. KTR has a lot of control over the party, but somehow they missed that connect with the MLAs who are actually they created themselves a new fiefdom, a new area kings they have become. I think that factor maybe BRS has either not really seen or ignored it conveniently, seeing that they are ultimately they are going to win the party and work for us.
Okay.
So I think that is one of the major factors which anti-incumbency, when we talk about anti-incumbency, the anti-incumbency is against the local MLAs more than the governance of the BRS party led by Mr. Chandrasekhar.
Right. Uma, quickly, you've been interacting with a host of BRS leaders, including the top. What's the sense that you're picking him? Are they aware of what's happening? Do they believe, or do they feel that no? Look, they're not even aware. They're not willing to agree that there is that kind of local level anti-incumbency.
BRS is very aware of what's happening for sure, because they have their ears to the ground, and they were in fact the first to get off on this campaigning mode, and they announced their candidates in August itself, and they fought the rebel candidates there itself. But this kind of an anti-incumbency against the MLA is also something that they had factored into, because what I must point out is that this MLA-centric structure of this party is something that is built into the structure of the party. Unlike, say, a DMK, which has a party cadre and a party structure which is there in each one of the districts in, say, Tamil Nadu, in the BRS and in Telangana, they chose a different model, which is in fact similar to a Bahujan Samaj Party kind of a model, where in fact it's an MLA-centric operation in each of the constituencies. They decided to invest in the MLA for the party work as well, and as well as to get the works for the people done as well. So that became the one-point person to who the people went. So people who are happy with the BRS are going to be rewarding them. But if they are unhappy that they have not got a 2 BHK, or they were denied the new pensions for the last 4 years, from 2018 onwards, they have not added to the pension numbers. Otherwise, pensioners is someone who are happy with the BRS. But what I'm saying is that anti-incumbency certainly adds on, and that turned into an anger for the last few years, I would think, because 2018, we saw more than 30 seats in which they won by a margin of about 20%. That's a huge margin that we are talking about. But that certainly is something that's going to be challenged in this particular election, because the disappointment now is going to turn into anger. It's no longer hope that in the next term I'm going to get it. I didn't get it 2 terms. I'll probably not get it now.
Right. Right. Will voter fatigue also matter? Those are questions that we will raise and perhaps watch out for as we analyze post the results. But I'm now moving to the third factor. And I think uniformly most agree that this could also be a potential X factor, which is the minority vote in that state. The AIMIM's decision to contest only 9 seats, the Congress's allegation that the BRS, BJP and AIMIM are together, and a counter allegation by the BJP and the BRS against the Congress, all aimed at trying to garner the minority vote. Remember, the BRS has a huge chunk of that minority vote in 2018. My question to you, Balu, is that going to be a crucial factor, whether the Congress can break in to that minority vote?
The fear of BRS is that Congress has cracked the minority vote. And like we had spoken earlier in one of the earlier shows, see, there are about 49 constituencies where minorities have a significant number of votes. And BRS has been trying, they've been wooing the minorities, holding different meetings and promising various things. And they also have a very strong ally in MIM, which has been campaigning for the BRS, saying vote for BRS wherever MIM does not contest. And that is a serious problem there, because we are looking at anywhere between 15 to 35,000 votes. Even if they are split, let's say 50-50, we are talking about 7,000 to 12,000 to 13,000 votes going either way, is getting split. So it is a serious problem for
so that's an important factor. That's an important factor that you are saying is pointing out. Sandeep Shastri, quickly to you before I go to Uma and Ravi.
Veera, I think both the points made are very important. The minority vote is very critical to the BRS, and we have noticed in other states that when Congress is not the main challenger to the BJP, and there is a third party which is also challenging the BJP, there is a chance of the minority vote moving away from the Congress to the third party, which is also prominent in the race. And I think that's a factor we will necessarily need to keep in mind. And quickly, Veera, a second point here is, I think everybody tomorrow will look to the voter turnout, especially in the different regions. Where is the voter turnout higher? What are its implications? There is no empirical evidence to show that higher voter turnout helps either the ruling party or the opposition. But in this particular election, I think a significant rise in voter turnout could be a matter of alarm for the ruling party. In this, but I'm making this point in the particular context of this election, that a higher voter turnout could very much be a reflection of a stronger anti-incumbency vote, because the committed votes for all sides would necessarily come to their parties, and a higher voter turnout basically would imply that there has been a strong sentiment against the government, and that's what I will be looking out for tomorrow.
Right, Uma Sudhir, quickly on the minority vote and the Congress's efforts to try and break into it. It has to achieve that if it wants to make any dent on the BRS's vote.
Yes, indeed. We must look at this way, that about 61% of the minority vote is in the rural areas and about 38-39% is in the urban areas. Let's presume that most of that is in Hyderabad, which is the case. And that vote does go to the MIM. So that is in pocket. But the rest of the vote is what we are talking about. And yes, the BRS and my own travels would say that the perception certainly has gained ground that the BRS and the BJP could be having tacit understanding, something that the narrative that the Congress has also been pushing. And therefore, I did find many people talking about this issue, that they would probably now vote for the Congress. Many of the people who belong to the minority community were talking about it, and that is a concern for the ruling party, certainly. And the other point about what Mr. Shastri made about higher voter turnout, I must point out that the BRS and the BJP are largely more, stronger in the urban pockets, and the Congress, that kind of a branding has also worked for the Congress, saying that it is more a rural party, something that goes with the poorer sections, and therefore a larger turnout always expected in rural areas compared to urban areas. If the urban electorate comes out and votes, it will probably favor the BRS, but if the rural areas you get higher turnout, then certainly I would think it's something that's advantageous for the Congress party.
Right, as I move to as I get Ravi, I want to also introduce the next X factor that we're talking about, which is the backward caste factor. And from a national point of view, in the midst of the caste census push and the BJP's push in Telangana of a backward classes chief minister, it is an extremely interesting aspect of this. Let's not forget that this entire region, the Telangana region, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ravi, was once a TDP stronghold, which then turns into a BRS stronghold. The Congress wasn't always very strong amongst this particular area and amongst the backward castes. Will that be a factor in these elections? And if the BJP rises, as Uma is pointing out, who is it going to hurt more?
Well, let me make a point on the minority vote, Veera. First thing, the BRS got the maximum minority vote in the 2018. So they can't go beyond this now. So whatever they're looking at minority vote is going to be, helpful for the Congress now, because a lot of people are coming back. The discussion within the minority groups, religious organizations, and some of them have actually openly come out and said, we are going to support Congress. So BRS cannot gain the minority vote from compared to 2018. They are only going to lose from 2018. So that would be some advantage for Congress as far as minority vote is concerned. Now, BC factor, the backward classes, which are the major group in Telangana, the backward classes were always with the Telugu Desam party ever since it was formed in 1983, because that gave them the political positions, the political life for a lot of BC castes, because the Congress was always considered to be an upper, dominated by the Reddy community, which is an upper caste community. So the Telugu Desam party gave them that opportunity, but once the Telangana state was formed, a lot of that moved to BRS, because and if you look at the BRS party now, nearly 60 to 70% of leaders, as well as from various levels, from the state level to the Tehsil level, village level, belong to the TDP, old TDP guys, including the Chief Minister himself. So that factor, 2014 and 18, actually played a huge role in BRS gaining. They were also very fresh with the agitation mood. Obviously, the backward castes were very active in that mood. In the agitation, because they thought that they would get some kind of political positions and some political life out there, and Mr. Chandrasekhar has given some kind of positions, particularly not if not the MLAs, but at the lower level, various corporations and all. So he has encouraged the backward class community to keep them with him. In the meanwhile, in that period, Congress actually lost that group, because there's no big leader, a big face of backward caste community which can actually attract the vote. And that's what the BJP has played on. Now, BJP, by bringing in Mr. Bandi Sanjay as a state chief, it really, gave them an opportunity to the backward class communities. But once he was removed, the party's image fell, rather, the interest fell. But now, with the announcement of the backward class chief minister, BJP might gain. But the problem is, the announcement came too late. Had it been 6 months ago,
right, that's a factor we've discussed, and I think Uma has a point to make quickly, Uma, before I introduce the fifth X factor.
Okay, the BJP is not really looking only at 2023 when it introduced this OBC CM into this debate, because obviously the caste census and what the Congress was talking about at the national level, that's what they had in mind, and they are looking at to invest in this constituency, because that's a constituency that is not taken by any other party. Like Ravi was mentioning, the Congress has been largely seen as a Reddy party, and if the BRS is seen as a Velama party, OBC is 52% of the population, and they know that this is a constituency that they can invest in, whether it is 2024 or even in the future.
Right, that's an important point. That's an important point that you make there, Uma. We have just 2.5 minutes left on the show, and I'm just going to introduce the last factor, the Karnataka factor. That's become a part of discussions across the board in your state, whether it is an exchange between the Chief Minister, K.T. Ramarao, and the Karnataka politicians over development. I just want to quickly go through a round. We have very limited time, 20 seconds literally each, starting with you, Uma. Does the Karnataka factor played out? Has it really changed things for the Congress, at least psychologically? Quickly, 20 seconds.
Absolutely. After the victory in Karnataka is when the momentum to the Congress here picked up. So that is something that we have to acknowledge. The second factor is, yes, it was possible that the resources from Karnataka is what had given this Congress the opportunity to fight this election in full. I must say that they have pulled all stops in fighting this particular election. They have given it all they have, whether it's Priyanka Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, or the local leadership. We didn't see this kind of a fight earlier, and therefore the Karnataka factor very much there. And the guarantees there is something that seems to be haunting the government here. And that's the reason why, even the advertisements of the government of Karnataka here have been, complained about, and notices being sent to the government as well. Because yes, Karnataka is going to be a big factor.
2 points. I think it's after the Karnataka victory that the Congress realized that maybe we can and do something in Telangana. I wish they had realized that much before Karnataka results. They would have had more time to do what they wanted to do. And secondly, I think the fact that the guarantees were responsible for Congress doing well in Karnataka is something that has attracted not just the Congress and its Telangana campaign, but other parties also. I think parties are focusing on welfare, and I think this is the Karnataka effect, not just on boosting the Congress, but in defining in some ways the nature of the campaign in the state.
Right, defining some ways in the nature of the campaign in the state. But for the moment, it's for the voters to decide and come out and vote. Hopefully that urban apathy will be shed in Hyderabad. I'm sorry, Ravi and Balu. I wish we had more time, but we simply are out of time. We'll keep this conversation going. Come back to you both tomorrow as well as on the 3rd of December. That's all we have time for on the battle for the states this evening. The news continues here on NDTV.
NDTV for news you can trust. No sensationalism, no ugly debates, no agenda. We strive to be transparent and unbiased in our reporting so you can get news that you can rely on.
Give us a sort of profile without disclosing too much of it. But the kind of startups that excite you today, because Zomato, Policy Bazaar, Naukri, great innings, but I'm wondering today what kind of companies, what are the elements of these companies?
So I tell you, we don't do it top down. We don't say, hey, this is a good sector, let's go for it. If we'd done that in 2010, we would never have invested in Zomato because there was no restaurant listing sector. We would not have done Policy Bazaar in 2008 because there was no insurance comparison sector. We look at companies that are creating new categories, entrepreneurs, breaking new ground, and therefore we do it bottom up. We meet 1,000 startups a quarter, or at least look at 1,000 startups a quarter, meet maybe about 500, and we invest in 3 or 4 a quarter.
Okay.
Okay. and we start with first principles, bottom up. Is there some evidence of natural traction? Is there some indication that the value proposition is so good that the customer will really want this? Are customers using it? Are they happy? Are they coming back again and again? Is the company getting some sales, right? Are customers paying real money for this? And is that real money higher than the cost? So that's the first thing. Then we look at the quality of the team and the founders, right? And then maybe 100 other things. But these two are absolutely important. Very important also is there some IP that is being created or potentially can be created, right? That matters. Because IP is what I think gives superior margins, builds a moat, and provides longevity to a business, right? So at Naukri, we have built pretty serious IP. A lot of it is not known in the public, it's not talked about, but all our resume database is the largest in the country. The kind of algorithms we use to search our resume database are fairly unique to us, right? In the company, we've got an AI, ML, analytics team in excess of 40 or 50 people, which is one of the largest for an Indian internet company in this country. We believe that gives us a serious edge.
Hello and welcome to this very special show on NDTV. There are three things in life that none of us can really live without. That's friends, fun, and films.
For you. We're going to ask a bunch of you some special questions, and every correct answer is going to reveal what our surprise is.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24x7.
Welcome. You're watching the news. I'm Gargi Rawat. Coming up ahead, the latest on the rescue tunnel workers. Also, what are the lessons learned from this tunnel disaster? Also, Home Minister Amit Shah is in Kolkata today as Mamata Banerjee holds a dharna there. All those details coming up ahead. Let's take a look at the headlines at this hour. The 41 workers who were rescued from the Uttarakhand tunnel are in good health. They were airlifted to AIIMS in Rishikesh today. They tell us how they played games, did meditation and yoga to survive the 17 days in the tunnel. Now that the rescue of the workers is done, time for questions over what led to the lapse. Were protocols followed? Union Minister says they will make sure that norms are refined. Heavy-duty political action in Kolkata today with Home Minister Amit Shah launching the 2024 campaign in the state. Asked Bengal to vote Modi back to power. The Trinamool hits back, says Shah didn't mention unemployment or the Manrega funds. Set back to the Delhi government after the Supreme Court cleared the centre's proposal extending the tenure of the Chief Secretary. Naresh Kumar AAP had wanted a say in the decision. There are hopes that the current truce between Israel and Hamas could be extended. Talks are being held in Qatar as huge welcomes are held for Palestinian prisoners who have been released in exchange for hostages. And after some suspense, the BCCI extends Rahul Dravid's contract as the head coach of the Indian cricket team. Our top story now, and the 41 workers who were rescued from the Uttarakhand tunnel are doing well. They were all shifted to AIIMS in Rishikesh today as a precautionary measure. Speaking to NDTV, they described how they managed to spend those 17 days in the tunnel. Now, one of the senior workers, Gabbar Singh Negi, took charge of all of them. He taught them meditation and engaged them in mental and physical games to keep their morale high. Here's a report.
For the 41 workers trapped inside the Uttarakhand tunnel for 17 days,
Their confinement was a big test of resolve, something that required a bunch of leaders from within to step up and keep everyone calm. Most workers say that figure was Gabbar Singh Negi, born 260 kilometers away in the Pauri Garhwal district of Uttarakhand, and someone who had the unfortunate distinction of having been trapped in 3 collapsed tunnels. Over the 400 plus hours the men spent trapped, Mr. Negi taught his colleagues yoga and meditation, ensured they stayed physically and mentally active, and underlined his commitment to their safety by telling them he would be the last to be rescued.
वो बड़ा बहादुर है, बड़ा संयमी है, धैर्यशील है, तो हम उसकी बहुत तारीफ करते हैं। वो मेरे से कह रहा था कि चूंकि मैं यहाँ पे सीनियर हूँ, ले आजा, जो पहले मैंने कहा हबड़ दबड़ करोगे, नहीं बोला कोई हबड़ दबड़ नहीं करेंगे। हमने लिस्ट बना लिया और मैं सबसे आखिरी में जब सब लोग सकुशल बाहर आ जाएंगे तब मैं आऊँगा।
Another survivor, 27-year-old Akhilesh Singh from eastern Uttar Pradesh's impoverished Mirzapur district, told NDTV he now plans to go home and rest for at least 1 or 2 months.
यहाँ पर कुछ भूकंप के झटके महसूस किए गए थे जिसकी वजह से टनल में हलचल हो गया था, तो टनल हम लोग का तो 2300 मीटर आया है। हमारे कंपनी की तरफ से ट्रेनिंग दिया गया था कि ऐसे में पहले पाइपलाइन खोलना है, तो जो पाइपलाइन हम लोग का पूरे टनल में वो सुविधा कंपनी करके रखती है, जिससे कि तो हम लोग बात भी कर सकें। तो हम लोग पाइपलाइन से बात किए, बात करने के बाद पता चला कि बंदे अंदर में सेफ हैं, तो उन लोगों ने 18 घंटे के बाद ऑक्सीजन भेजना चालू किया।
At this phone interaction with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Saba Ahmed from Bihar told the Prime Minister that despite being stuck in the tunnel for days, they did not feel any fear or nervousness.
आज का दिन लेके सर 18 दिन तक टनल में हम लोग सब फंसा था सर, लेकिन हम लोग को एक दिन भी कुछ ऐसा एहसास नहीं हुआ कि हम लोगों को कुछ ऐसी कमजोरी हो रही है या कुछ ऐसा घबराहट हो रहा है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ।
It wasn't an easy task for these 41 men to survive in such extreme conditions, but their grit not only helped them survive, but also kept them healthy and in good spirits.
It was not an easy task for all the 41 men who were trapped inside the tunnel to survive in those extreme conditions, but their perseverance and high spirits and the leaders that have emerged brought them out and alive safely. But the question that remains is, are the safety audits done enough? And also, have we learned the lesson from this? From Uttarkashi with video journalist Sushil Rathi, this is Nukul Jashoria for NDTV.
Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, Pushkar Singh Dhami, spoke to NDTV earlier. He said the workers were in good health and how he met with their families.
श्रमिक बाहर आए तो हमने देखा तस्वीरों में कि आपने उनका माला पहना करके गले मिलकर उनका स्वागत किया, उनका हालचाल पूछा। आज सुबह की भी तस्वीर हमने देखी जब उत्तराखंड सरकार की ओर से सभी श्रमिकों को 1-1 लाख रुपए का चेक भी दिया गया है। अभी उनकी स्थिति क्या है, ये भी हमें खबर मिली है कि हेलीकॉप्टर के जरिए उन्हें श्रीनगर ऋषिकेश ले जाया जा रहा है और वहां से फिर वो अपने अपने घरों पर जाएंगे। तो अभी उनकी स्थिति क्या है, क्या सभी श्रमिक स्वस्थ हैं?
मैं सभी से अस्पताल में जाकर सभी से मिला हूं, कुछ के मैंने परिवार के लोगों से भी मिला हूं, उनके माता पिता से भी मैंने फोन पर बात भी की है। तो सभी पारिवारिक जन भी और जो लोग हमारे श्रमिक भाई आए हैं सभी स्वस्थ हैं, किसी को अभी कोई परेशानी नहीं है। थोड़ा जेट लॉग जैसी स्थिति उनकी हो गई है क्योंकि वो रात में 4 बजे के बाद सो पाते थे। उन्होंने जैसा बताया कि रात में हमको नींद कम आती थी थोड़ा वहां, लेकिन वो स्वस्थ थे पूरी तरह से।
All right, so the workers are doing well. They've been rescued, and now time to focus on the lessons that have been learned. Union Minister B.K. Singh, speaking to us, said that we need to be cognizant of the geology of our mountains when making these roads and tunnels. He also said that audits will be done. But many environmentalists have already pointed out that the dangers of the Char Dham project in the fragile Himalayas. Remember, this tunnel was a part of the Char Dham project, and they've also said how impact assessments have not been done. Talking about coordinations, international tunneling experts, NDRF, SDRF, Army, multiple agencies coming together for this rescue. Of course, leadership and camaraderie both was on display, be it inside and outside, where the rescuers gave their all.
As a former army chief, do you look at this as a textbook case of how to overcome a Himalayan challenge? And what are the lessons learned from Silkyara tunnel excavation and this entire rescue operation, sir?
See, the lesson learned is very simple. We need to be cognizant of the type of geology that our young mountains have. It's difficult geology. There are places which are hard, there are places which have problems, and that is why you have so many landslides in the Himalayan region. In this tunnel too, this area which caved, this area for almost 4 years was stable. And when we started doing permanent work on it, it just caved in because some transformation had taken place in the soil out there, that it just became plastic. It just came down, and with it came down all the metal that earlier had been put to shore up the roof of the tunnel. Geology is a very important factor, and with the people who had come from the Geological Survey of India, we have had a long discussion.
What led to the Silkyara tunnel crisis? Was it human error? Were the official norms and protocol for tunnel design and construction followed in letter and spirit? The circumstances of the Silkyara tunnel accident is raising many questions as to why it actually happened.
You said that there's a need to strengthen the side investigation systems and mechanism. What is side investigation essentially?
Side investigation means at any place, if you are going to dig inside the mountain, so you need to find out which kind of rock it has. You have to find out whether there are faults or folds. One need to strengthen the side investigation for safety purposes.
According to experts, questions have also emerged on whether safety norms and measures were followed.
Do you think that the idea of an escape tunnel is something that should be weaved in how we design our tunnels in future?
Yes, that is very important, that all the safety aspect of not only the workers constructing the tunnel, but also the people using the tunnel should be adequately taken care of.
Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami and Union Minister VK Singh told NDTV on Wednesday that the circumstances in which this accident happened will be examined in detail.
तो ये जो हादसा हुआ, क्या इसकी कोई जांच होगी? जो दोषी हैं इसके लिए क्या उनको जिम्मेदार ठहरा करके सजा दिलवाने का प्रयास किया जाएगा?
नहीं, निश्चित रूप से देखिए, जब समीक्षा करेंगे तो समीक्षा में सब कुछ आ जाएगा.
Let's get into the allegations that are coming in, General VK Singh, that environmental impact assessment EIA was bypassed for this entire Char Dham project under which this tunnel comes. So the big question is, will the accountability be fixed?
So far as we are concerned in the Ministry of Road, Highways and Transport, we are absolutely transparent. We are again ensuring that whatever things we have laid down, they are refined. If there is an audit required to be done at various stages, that is taken care of.
After the tunnel crisis, the National Highway Authority of India has already decided to carry out a safety audit of all its 29 under construction tunnels. The tunnel experts now want that a safety audit of railway and hydropower tunnels must also be carried out to ascertain whether the existing official norms and guidelines have been strictly followed while designing and constructing them. In Delhi with Akhilesh Sharma and Pooja Arya, Himanshu Shekhar for NDTV.
In other news, it was a day of heavy-duty political action in Kolkata. Union Home Minister Amit Shah took on West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee, saying the BJP will have their revenge on the Trinamool through elections, through votes. While the Chief Minister was sitting on a dharna, she was demanding that the Union Home Minister address the issue of central funds and release Manrega funds to Bengal.
मैं दीदी को कहकर जाता हूं, हम भाजपा वाले हैं, हमारा कार्यकर्ता हमारा भाई से बढ़कर होता है, भाई से बढ़कर होता है. दीदी, भाजपा कार्यकर्ताओं की हत्या की है, देश भर का और पूरे बंगाल का एक एक कार्यकर्ता इसका बदला लेने के लिए तैयार है। 2026 में जब चुनाव होगा तब मालूम पड़ेगा कि किस प्रकार से राजनीतिक हत्या का वोट देकर बदला दिया जाता है। अगर 26 में यहां भाजपा सरकार बनानी है तो इसकी नींव 24 के लोकसभा के चुनाव में डालकर मोदी जी को बंगाल से प्रधानमंत्री बनाना चाहिए।
Amit Shah's target, TMC Supremo West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. Having set a target for 35 seats from Bengal for the Lok Sabha, the Union Home Minister made a pitch for a two-third majority in 2026, attacking the TMC for alleged corruption.
इतने सारे भ्रष्टाचार हुए हैं कि संसद की पवित्रता को भी तृणमूल कांग्रेस के सांसदों ने समाप्त कर दिया। भेंटे लेकर, सौगातें लेकर सवाल पूछने वाले सांसद और वो पार्टी बंगाल और भारत का भला कर सकती है क्या? बंगाल का विकास मोदी जी की सबसे बड़ी प्राथमिकता बंगाल का विकास है। हमें एक ऐसी सरकार चाहिए जो मोदी जी को विकास करने के लिए अनुकूल भूमि तैयार करे। ममता बनर्जी मोदी जी को विकास नहीं करने देती है।
The TMC hit back with Mamata Banerjee sitting on a dharna soon after the Union Home Minister's speech demanding Bengal's spending dues. Mamata Banerjee said she's not scared of Amit Shah or Narendra Modi.
আমাকে অমিত শাহ দেখিয়ে নরেন্দ্র মোদি দেখিয়ে কোনো লাভ নেই। আর যারা সারা জীবন লুট করেছে তৃণমূল কংগ্রেসের টাকায় লুট ডাকাতি করে নিজেরাই দলটার বদনাম করেছে, সেই গদ্দারদের আমাদের কেউ ভয় পায় না, তৃণমূলেও ভয় পায় না।
The BJP is clearly thinking of 2026 along with 2024, with Union Home Minister Amit Shah targeting Mamata Banerjee and setting a target of a two-thirds majority in the next assembly elections for his own party while taking on the TMC in the state. Mamata Banerjee responded immediately with her forte of protest politics, sitting on a dharna at the assembly saying she's not scared of Narendra Modi or Amit Shah. But today's political developments in Kolkata, an Amit Shah rally, a Mamata Banerjee dharna and an exchange of charges and counter charges show one thing: West Bengal is going to be one of the most hotly contested states in 2024 and 2026. With camera person GD Shankar in Kolkata, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Now, there's a big setback for the Delhi government and Aam Aadmi Party after the Supreme Court today cleared the centre's proposal to extend by 6 months the tenure of Chief Secretary Naresh Kumar, who was supposed to retire in 24 hours. The Delhi government had opposed the extension on grounds that the ordinance that gives the ruling BJP control of bureaucrats posted to the national capital is still being challenged, and that the centre could not make appointments, particularly to senior posts, without consultation. But the Supreme Court allowing the centre to extend the Delhi Chief Secretary's tenure. A good day at the stock markets today. The market valuation of BSE listed companies crossed $4 trillion for the first time on the back of positive market sentiment in Indian equities. Sakshi Bajaj with the details.
Market valuation of all BSE listed companies has crossed $4 trillion for the first time ever. The market capitalization of BSE listed companies touched 333 lakh crore rupees, or $4 trillion on the exchange. India is now the 5th most valued equity market in the world, with US, China, Japan and Hong Kong already part of the $4 trillion market cap club. Experts believe investors are cheering small and mid-cap stocks outperforming and the rally in equities being broad-based in general. A flood of IPOs and foreign institutional investors turning net buyers along with upbeat global cues has boosted the market mood as well. Now, what is interesting to note here is that the pace at which the market cap is hitting a new record is a lot faster now. You can see the last trillion, which is the historic 4 trillion mark we see today, has taken only 2 years from the 3 trillion mark, while 2 trillion to 3 trillion market cap took 4 years, and it took over 10 years for the BSE market cap to double from 1 trillion to $2 trillion. So optimism and participation for the markets rising like never before now.
International news and the latest on Gaza. There are hopes the current truce between Israel and Hamas could be extended. Talks are being held in Qatar. This as massive welcomes are being held for Palestinian prisoners who've been released in exchange for hostages.
Palestinian prisoners returned to a roaring welcome after being released by Israel. This after hostages were released by Hamas in compliance with the extended truce deal between the warring parties.
فرحة لا توصف نجانا ربنا من الموت والله يعني أنا طلعت من زنازين التحقيق من شهر تقريبا اللي فيها زنازين قاسي جدا الحمد لله يعني كأننا طلعنا من الموت من عندهم الحمد لله رب العالمين شعور لا يوصف يعني اليوم أنا
According to reports, some freed prisoners have alleged that they were mistreated in Israeli captivity. As the deadline to the extended truce deal loomed, there seemed to be some hope for the ceasefire to be extended further as talks continued in Qatar, with Hamas willing to extend the ceasefire by 4 days according to reports. Israel received a list of hostages held in Gaza who could be released later, another indication of a possible truce extension. Israel had said that for every 10 hostages, truce would be extended by 1 day. While there seems to be an uneasy calm in Gaza, Israeli raids continue in the occupied West Bank. At least 242 Palestinians have been killed since October 7th. Meanwhile, the US has told Israel it must limit further civilian displacement in southern Gaza. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Cricket now, and Rahul Dravid remains the Team India coach, ending days of speculation about his future with the team. Even though the duration of his stay with the team has not been specified as the announcement was made today, he's likely to stay on till the end of the T20 World Cup, which is in June next year.
दुनिया इन्हें रोकेगी पर जीतने का मिशन यही पूरा करेंगे.
Rahul Dravid is back as India's head coach 10 days after his first stint with Team India ended with the Cricket World Cup. He said, and I quote, "Together we have witnessed the highs and lows. And throughout this journey, the support and camaraderie within the group have been phenomenal. I'm genuinely proud of the culture we have set in the dressing room. It's a culture that stands resilient, whether in moments of triumph or adversity. The skills and talent that our team possesses are phenomenal, and what we have stressed is following the right process and sticking to our preparations, which has had a direct impact on the overall result." Dravid became the head coach in November 2021 for a 2-year term. While India has risen to the top of the Test, ODI and T20 rankings under him, they are unable to win any ICC trophies, finishing as semi-finalists in the 2020 T20 World Cup and runners-up in the 2023 World Test Championship and the 2023 ODI World Cup. India's run in the ODI World Cup was particularly impressive. They won all 9 league games and the semi-final before losing the final to Australia. BCCI wants Dravid to stay on to ensure continuity of the process. His new stint will begin in South Africa when Team India starts its African safari with T20s on 10th of December. Dravid will have the important task of getting an ICC trophy home, also deciding on the white ball future of 2 of India's superstar cricketers, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. In New Delhi, Rika Roy for NDTV.
And finally, stand-up comedian Veer Das, who recently won the International Emmy for his Netflix special Veer Das Landing, is currently touring India with his comedy show Mindful. NDTV's Abira Dhar caught up with him.
How has your comedy changed, or you changed, post the response to Two Indias?
I still just write a joke. I learn from my audience. That's it. It's not a
No.
What was that phase like?
It's fine. I have too diverse an audience to think about or to pre-think about what they will like, what they won't like, etc. It's people of different sexualities, people of different religions, people of different age groups, people of different ideologies, and they're all coming to forget about their problems and to watch me make an idiot of myself. So you just focus on that. You know, please forgive me, but in that phase and in this phase, what I was very clear about is when I talk about it, I'll do jokes. You know, that's the voice that I have, which is why I didn't give you guys an interview then about it, and I wouldn't do it now either. What I have to say, I say through my art.
Tell me, what is the best response that you have ever got in a show?
The best part of the show is watching exhausted people walk out of a room. So at the end of the day...
I'm sorry, I didn't get you.
Well, when you come in, they're all fresh, right? And they have bought tickets way in advance. Maybe the tickets have sold out in 10 minutes. They've saved money. And then at the end of the show, to watch them just happily exhausted, and maybe their voice is a little hoarse because they've laughed, and they're waiting for an Uber and they're like, hey, I'm glad we did this. That's the best feeling. It's not when they scream your name. It's not when they welcome you on stage. It is when they are walking out of a place like this and they're like, Arey, I'm so glad we did this with each other and with him and or her and not something else. That's the best part of the show.
And on that note, it's a wrap from me. Thanks so much for watching. News updates continue on NDTV. Do stay with us.
Hello, Namaste and Salam UAE. We are here to celebrate exceptional success stories of leading individuals in the realty industry across the UAE. Realty Awards, brought to you by NKN Media in partnership with NDTV, will also provide a vision for the realty landscape in the UAE. Coming soon, only on NDTV.
How often have you turned away from debates that descend into endless fights? We bring you a show where every question is answered, where every debate finds its resolution, where every story finds its conclusion, where opinions collide but facts prevail, where stories unfold with insights and trust. When the noise ends, the last word begins.
Tell you something, I'll give you a little story of something that we did about maybe 15 years ago. At that time, we didn't know we were doing AI. It just looked like a smart algorithm. Now, it'll probably be classified as AI. Okay, or borderline AI, right? So at Naukri, we've got 80 million resumes. Recruitment managers come, log in, and they search this database of resumes to try and identify candidates they want to contact to hire them. Now, because the 80 million resumes, we have a problem of plenty. So the HR manager, the recruitment manager, puts in some criteria, say B.Tech computer science qualification, 3 to 5 years experience, and keywords Java, C++, right? Location Bangalore, right? He puts these in the structured fields, and maybe 500,000 matches are found. Now, there are many, many, many unarticulated criteria which the recruitment manager cannot put in the form. But the moment he sees the CV, he says yes, no basis, judgment. So and therefore what used to happen was that in the first page of the finds, he'd find 2 relevant resumes, although they all matched the criteria he put down. Page 2 and 3, nothing. Page 5, 3 more. So it would take him about 100 pages to get 50 good resumes. That would take him maybe half an hour to 45 minutes, right? And we said, is there a way we can identify these unarticulated criteria and somehow put all the relevant ones at the top on the first page? If you can save about a half an hour of your client's time.
And you managed to do that successfully?
Yes, we developed an algorithm. It took us a couple of years. We developed an algorithm that did precisely that, and it worked like a miracle because only 5 people in the company knew how it worked. And the moment we introduced it, our sales team all got calls from clients saying, what is this? What have we done? This is fantastic, right? Now, that's how smart programming, AI, ML can help you.
And proprietary.
And proprietary.
NDTV for news you can trust. No sensationalism, no ugly debates, no agenda. We strive to be transparent and unbiased in our reporting so you can get news that you can rely on.
लगभग 50 मीटर का ये मलबा वहाँ पे लैंडस्लाइड हुआ था।
जितना बाहर निकालते हैं मलबा उतना ही गिर जाता है। उस पाइप से ये हमको जानकारी मिली कि 40 के 40 सुरक्षित।
Several families in different parts of the country who have their loved ones stuck in the tunnel. They are watching every moment of these rescue operations.
The survivability of the group of 41 is, I would say, fairly high at this particular time.
9 दिन बाद बड़ा ब्रेक थ्रू मिला है।
सूरज की पहली किरण से पहला ब्रेक थ्रू।
Major breakthroughs have been achieved, be it the first video contact or resumption of horizontal auger drilling.
The NDRF, the SDRF, central agencies and officials from state and the central government are monitoring the situation.
There are 41 workers still trapped inside.
जो सबसे पहले जरूरतमंद है, पहले बीमार देखेंगे, कोई बीमार है तो उसको पहले निकाला जाएगा।
बहुत हम लोग बिल्कुल पास पहुंच गए हैं।
The breaking news is the first of the worker has been taken out of the tunnel.
आप हीरो बन चुके हो, आप ही की वजह से वो लोग आए, बहुत सबने मेहनत करी है। जैसे हम अंदर पहुंचे, वो लोग देखते के साथ ही हम लोग खुश हो गए और उनसे ज्यादा हम खुश हो गए।
It's a huge monumental effort which has gone into this by the government of India, all its agencies.
Celebratory mood, and in fact I've seen smiles on the faces of the parents after many days.
With the workers safe, the focus is now shifting on what led to that unfortunate collapse.
We need to be cognizant of the type of geology that our young mountains have.
सभी जो टनल का काम चूंकि हमारे यहाँ अन्य एजेंसियां भी कर रही हैं, उन
Hello everyone and welcome to The Last Word. I'm Maria Shakil. For 400 hours, 41 workers were trapped in a tunnel in the Himalayas. This moment, 24 hours ago, a nation of over 140 crore Indians thanked the joint effort of multiple government agencies, international bodies, and 12 heroes. Over the next 30 minutes, I get you voices of those who saw it closely. We begin with the true heroes or real heroes. The rat miners who achieved what many thought was impossible. And when machines failed in the Himalayas, these men prevailed. 12 rat hole miners went inside and saved the day, manually drilling 12 meters to make the rescue path for the 41 trapped workers. Among them were Firoz Qureshi, Naseem, Munna and Devinder, and they are joining us live from Uttarkashi. शुक्रिया हमसे बात करने के लिए। मेरा सवाल सबसे पहले ये होगा कि जब आप वहां पहुंचे जहां पर मशीन नहीं काम कर पाई, तो उसके बारे में बताइए कि जब पूरे घटना के बारे में बताइए, जब से आपको बुलाया गया और बातचीत किस तरह की होती थी।
काम के बारे में क्या, जब हम लोग यहाँ पर आए थे तो हमने जाकर पाइप की सिचुएशन देखी थी। सिचुएशन देखकर हमने बोल दिया हाँ ठीक है जी, कर देंगे इस काम को। तो फिर वो बोलने लगे जिन लोगों की मशीन यहाँ पर पड़ी हुई थी, ऑगर मशीन, ट्रंचलेक्स वाली मशीन जो होती है ऑगर मशीन, वो पड़ी हुई का काफी पैसा लगा हुआ था उन लोगों का भी। तो जब हम पहुंचे तो उन लोगों ने कहा कि हमें 2 घंटे का और समय दे दो, शायद इससे ही काम हो जाए तो अच्छी बात है। तो हम लोगों ने कहा ठीक है, जैसा आपकी मर्जी कर लो, बाकी तो हम हैं यहाँ पर।
फिरोज, आपके बगल में नसीम और देवेंद्र भी हैं।
बाद ही उनकी मशीन वहां अंदर फंस गई। मशीन उनकी फंस चुकी थी, तो इसके जरिए हमें 3 दिन यहाँ पर बैठना पड़ा। उसको फिर कटर मशीन से काट काट के उस ऑगर मशीन को निकाली बाहर। 72 घंटे मशीन निकली वो। उसके बाद फिर उसमें एक मैन जो उसका आगे का जो मुंह होता है मशीन का, वो उसी के अंदर रह गया था। कम से कम 200 किलो का था वो। तो उसके बाद वो बोले अब आप जा सकते हो, आप अपनी कार्रवाई चालू कर दो जो करना है, हमारी मशीन तो फंस गई, इसमें फेल हो चुकी है। फिर हमने अपनी कार्रवाई चालू कर दी, अंदर गए, खोदते रहे, वो मशीन आई, उस मशीन को निकाला, काफी सरिया भी आई, सेटरिंग पाइप भी आए, उन सब से लड़ते झगड़ते बस हम अंदर चले गए। कटवाई उनको, मतलब लड़े नहीं थे हम, तो हमारी लग जाती वो, तो हमने कटवाई कटर वटर से कटवा के हम खोदते हुए चले गए, निकलवा दी।
फिरोज, आपके साथ वहां पर नसीम और मुन्ना भी हैं। नसीम और मुन्ना, आप कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे?
हम आज बहुत खुश हैं, पूरी जिंदगी में आज पहली बार खुश हुए इतना, इस उम्र में हम पहली बार खुश हुए इतनी उम्र में।
ऐसा क्यों, इतनी खुशी क्यों?
लाइफ में हमने कभी सोचा नहीं था कि हम लोगों को न्यूज वाले हमसे इतना बात करेंगे, या हम लाइव कभी आएंगे, या हमें यूट्यूब पे लोग हमें चैनल पे वायरल कर देंगे। हमने कभी जिंदगी में अपनी सोचा नहीं था, और हमारे सामने एक ऐसा मंजर आ चुका है ये कि हम कुछ बोल नहीं सकते इसके बारे में। कैसा मंजर है, हमारे दिल को पता है हम क्या फीलिंग कर रहे हैं अपने मन के अंदर, कितना क्या खुशी महसूस हो रही है। हमारे घर वाले भी बहुत खुश हैं।
देवेंद्र, मुझे आपसे ये जानना है, क्योंकि वो 2 मीटर जब बाकी था, जिसमें उसके बाद खबर आने लगी थी कि जो 41 वहां पर मजदूर हैं जो फंसे हुए हैं वो बाहर निकल जाएंगे, तो जब आप वहां पहुंचे या वहां पहुंचने वाले थे, तो वहां के जो लोग जो फंसे हुए थे, जो 41 वर्कर्स जो फंसे हुए थे, उन्होंने आपसे क्या बोला?
उन लोगों ने क्या कहा जी, 2 मीटर जो हमने मट्टी निकाली थी, तो 2 मीटर मट्टी निकालने के बाद उसमें हमने एक सरिया की जो सब्बल होती है ना, उसमें वो मारी, तो हमने देखा वो सब्बल पार हो गई, तो उनको वो सरिया नजर आई वहां पर परली साइड में, जो जहां पर वो फंसे हुए थे, उनको वो सरिया नजर आई। जब सरिया नजर आई तो वो एकदम भागते हुए आए फटाफट हमारे पास। उन लोगों को मतलब ये महसूस हो गया कि हाँ, हमारी जिंदगी अब लगता है बच रही है, तो वो भागते हुए आए, उन्होंने अपने हाथ से मट्टी हटाना चालू कर दी, वहीं से मट्टी हटाना चालू करी। इधर से हम हटा रहे थे, उधर से वो हटाने लगे, और हटाने के बाद एकदम मुंह के उसका पाइप का फेस जो है ओपन कर दिया हमने, क्लियर। फिर उनके पास हम गए, उन लोगों ने हमें गले लगाया, बहुत प्यार से बोले और नारे लगाने लगे, भारत माता की जय। तो हम भी बहुत खुश हुए। वो तो इतना खुश थे कि जैसे उन्होंने दोबारा जन्म लिया है, और उनको देख के हम ज्यादा खुश थे कि हमने क्या, ऊपर वाले ने हमारे हाथों से किसी की जान बचवा दी।
मुन्ना भाई, आप लोगों की आवाज भी पूरा देश सुनना चाहता है, आप लोग भी कुछ कहिए, बताइए। फिरोज बता रहे हैं कि वहां पर क्या हुआ, भारत माता की जय के नारे लग रहे थे, आपने क्या सुना, आपने क्या देखा?
हम इतना खुश हैं बहुत, क्योंकि मैं जब मेरे 4 जो लड़के थे अंदर गए थे, उन्होंने जाके उन्होंने इन्हें बहुत प्यार किया और गले लगाया, और इनको बहुत हौसले दिए, इन्होंने भी उन्हें हौसले दिए, और उन्होंने इन्हें काजू बादाम भी खिलाए, इतना खुश थे वो। फिर उसके बाद में उन्होंने मेरे को बुलाया, बोले मुन्ना भाई को बुला दो, क्योंकि नाम तो था ही वहां पे। हम पहुंचे, उन्होंने मेरे को सीने से लगाया, बहुत खुश हुए और बोलने लगे, मुन्ना भाई हमें बहुत उम्मीद थी आप पे। मैंने ठीक है, हमें आपसे बहुत मोहब्बत है, और आप हमारे साथ चलिए। उन्होंने मेरे को चॉकलेट भी दी। उन्होंने इतनी बड़ी बात बोली जो कोई नहीं बोल सकता। बोलने लगे, हम अपनी जान दे दें या दौलत दे दें या तुम्हें भगवान समझ लें। मैंने, हमें कुछ मत समझो, हमें अपना भाई समझो, और हम प्यार के नाते आए, तुम हमारे साथ चलो अपने भारत के नाते।
भारत माता की जय के नारे लग रहे थे, वो लम्हा क्या था वहां पर, और क्या बातचीत हो रही थी आप लोगों के बीच में?
हम अपने देश के नहीं आए थे, और हमारे देश के वर्कर है, हमारे हिंदुस्तान के वह युवा, उनके नहीं आए थे हम। और
हमें खुशी थी, उन्होंने जय जयकार बोली, जय माता की जय बोली, हमने भी हाथ उठाए, हमने भी बोला, क्योंकि भाई है, हमारे हिंदुस्तान के भाई है।
आप लोग जब वो खोद करके जब जा रहे थे, तो कितना समय लग रहा था? आप लोग क्या अपने बारे में सोच रहे थे क्योंकि जो मशीन वहां पर फेल कर गई थी, जो पूरा रास्ता था वो बहुत कठिन था, तो आपने कभी अपने बारे में सोचा कि अगर आपको कुछ हो गया तो क्या होगा?
शुरू से अंत तक यही सोचते चले, बस उन्हें लाना है, उनके पास पहुंचे, हमारा दिल और खुश हो गया। बस हम तो यही सोच रहे थे। हमने एक मिशन जो होता है, जिसका जुनून होता है, वो हमने बिल्कुल कंप्लीट कर लिया। और उनके पास जाने के बाद तो हमारा और दिल इतना खुश हुआ बहुत। और वो लोग भी बहुत खुश थे। वो तो हमसे बोल रहे थे हम आपसे भी ज्यादा खुश हैं। हम आपसे भी ज्यादा खुश हैं, हमें तो इतनी खुशी है बहुत।
एक तरीके से ये लगा लो, जो अभी इंडिया मैच हारी है ना, उसमें कितने लोग होते हैं? 11, 12, 10। इस तरीके से हम दोबारा इंडिया ने मैच जिता दिया।
आप 12 लोगों ने इंडिया को वर्ल्ड कप दिला दिया, मैच जीत गया हिंदुस्तान,
जिता दिया,
हमारा वर्ल्ड कप वापिस आ गया।
हाँ, और जितने जो खिलाड़ी थे ना मैच में, वो समझ लो वो भी खुश हो जाएंगे हमारे जरिए कि दोबारा हिंदुस्तान जीत गया।
थैंक यू सो मच हमसे बातचीत करने के लिए। Another person who played a critical role as the nodal officer is Neeraj Khairwal. He's joining us live. Neeraj, really appreciate your time. When did you realize that there was a need for a coordinated effort? NDRF, SDRF, international tunneling experts, army. The reason was that there were multiple arms that were needed to pitch in.
Maria, actually, initially when the work was started by different teams, it seems it was like quite, you can say, it was like a normal operation. They were just expecting that we will get through soon. But on 17th, one incident happened. There was a small, you can say, tremors were there, the small earthquake signal was there, and there was a cranking sound. The team which were working, the people who were working there, the team got scared. So they ran away. So on 17th and 18th was the day when it was decided that multiple options should be explored. And in case, if this is not feasible, then we should be ready for alternate options. So at that time, you can say the discussions at the government of India, the secretary, Morth and different people that had happened. And they decided that we should go for all different options because it is not, it can't be said that one option will be 100% successful. International experts were called, they were also invited, they give their opinion. So it was decided that multiple options should be explored because in any of the options, there is not 100% surety that we will get through. There are good chances that, and that's why the team planned like that. The officials at the higher level, they plan that whatever feasible option, we should explore it first, and whichever options we can get through in the minimum possible time, we should explore it first.
As you said that there were disappointments, there was a plan A which failed, then you all worked out plan B, and then rat hole miners were called in. It was about human efforts that finally yielded results.
Yeah, exactly. You can say machines were there, but manual efforts, we can't neglect it. Like I explained to the other team also, that whenever we have a vehicle, like we have a car, even the tire is important, steering is important, each and every part of it is important to run it. So even when, like, if within tire also, if there is a valve which we get, you can say one valve is not working, then the tire is deflated. So in that sense, each and every worker working there was equally important, first and foremost. Second part, like machines were there, we were hoping machine could get through. But when machines could not get through because of some technical, you can say, hurdles, different hurdles came up. So manual, you can say, excavation by the technique of rat miners. So that is like technique. Rat mining technique was there where people excavate with hands and then later on the machine was pushing it. So it was a combination of both. It was not that only manual excavation was there. Manually they were excavating, the machine was pushing. The same machine was pushing. So best part was all the experts give all their suggestion and the solution came up.
And what was the first communication that you had with the 41 trapped workers? What was it that they told you, and what was communicated by your side?
Initially, like first and foremost was whether they are okay, each and everybody is okay. That was the communication. And later on, different type of communications were established. They talked to their family members also. That was like, they were asking for like smaller things. Even they asked for nail cutter, that please, we don't have nail cutter, please provide it to us. And it was like that, you can understand when they got a little bit okay. Initially, when the communication was there, not there. So what we need is like air, water, food, and then communication. So air was there, it was pumped through compressed, you can say, air machine. Water was available on that side. Food we sent. So later on, when communication was established, they were mentally very satisfied. So mental, you can say, health, they got into good mental health when they got a communication. I talked to them many times. They expressed their happiness that we are happy in the sense that we are getting all the things and people are working on so many fronts. We told them that so many teams are working. We informed them for the reason that like on the opposite side, workout side, the team, THDC team which was working, so they were utilizing blasting technique. So they used to blast a 2x2 window and they had to approach. So we informed them that if you heard blasting sound on that side, so don't get panicked. So we informed them that team is working on perpendicular side also. They were trying, like THDC team was working on that side. The other team was working, RVNL team was working, the SGVNL team was working. So we informed them that on the, even from their roof side, the team is working. So don't get panicked. So they were informed about each and every person. That's why they were satisfied that they were also, you can say, confident that they will get out and they will get out without any kind of any injury or any kind of hurt. That was the best part.
Will you say that Himalayas have shown don't take us for granted? So will there be more caution with more protocols for future when you pierce through the Himalayas and these mountains?
Surely right now I was just coordinating our secretary coordination. So whatever I'm looking at, I can tell you about that only. But surely we will like to just convey your message, and it is definitely a kind of message conveyed by the Himalayas, and everybody is taking it very seriously at state level as national level. And you will see the results soon. That even the Secretary Maud sir was here and Rajan sir was here. He was of the view that we should have some kind of protocols for future, the safety.